All right. That's looking stable, and welcome back for the second part of this project of us looking at the 3.5 Player's Handbook. See part one, which won't be labeled part one on YouTube, but don't worry about it. For intro and all that other stuff. In any case, I'm Vincent.
I'm Shiv.
I'm Montegrain.
And I'm Vincent. And Krampus will probably join us later. Hopefully.
Okay, audio seems fine.
Yep. Cool. Alright, so starting where we left off. Description. This is the actual fluff parts of the book. So 3.5 actually has the default setting of Greyhawk. Which has the strange advantage of it has stuff that happens, it has gods, it has some maps of some parts of the geography, but there's a lot of undefined. So it actually lends well to, just make up whatever you want.
I mean, technically they're established gods and characters.
There are established gods and characters, but I mean, like, when it comes to, like, if you're building an adventure in the world and you need the world to look away, it can look whatever way you want. Basically, there's enough loose and fast that you can actually work with it pretty well. If you're coming up with more elements of your campaign than not, still not having to worry about little things like, okay, what's the pantheon of my adventure going to be look like?
It's very easy. You make 4 elemental gods and forget the name of 2 of them.
Then you just also use the Greyhawk gods anyways, and
yes, that campaign did also use Greyhawk.
Yeah. But before getting to that, we get into the classic traditional thing of D&D, the alignment system. For some mild history, done off the top of my head and memories from YouTube videos I've watched, so don't worry about the details too much on this. The original alignment system had basically 2, law and chaos, where pretty much all the quote-unquote good races were in law and the quote-unquote evil stuff was in chaos, until they realized this doesn't quite work as well as they think they do, because sometimes you have, like, the tyrant or the whatnot that doesn't really quite fit in that system. So they added good and evil to it, creating the 5-point alignment system of lawful neutral, or not, lawful good, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic evil, and of course, true neutral.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Then they decided to add 4 more.
And then they eventually added 4 more.
There is the secret 10th alignment of Chaotic Greg.
Chaotic
If you
Greg.
understand Chaotic Greg, you are one step closer to the divinity of D&D.
Chaotic Greg is an outlier, not be included.
So, they also saw fit to give us this table where we get some sample alignments to help us out. Or sample creatures for alignments to help us out, because people totally know what Lamassus are. And
Lamassus are demons?
no. This is in the lawful good category. It's not a demon.
Oh, at Lamassus.
Yeah. Or yeah, Lamassus. I've only ever seen this in writing, okay? But yeah,
I'm pretty sure there is a demon that's called a Lamassu.
You may be right on that. That might be why I was thinking Lamassu.
One of the...
Yeah.
These are the alignment charts, and with the exception of, like, 2 of these... No, wait. Barbarian. Barbarian just has to be chaotic.
Yeah, Barbarian just has to be chaotic.
Like...
They might not... They might be non-lawful.
They might have been non-lawful.
I know you can't specifically be a barbarian and a paladin at the same time.
A Barbaladin.
Yes, it's non-lawful.
Yeah, non-lawful. Monks have to be lawful. Paladins have to be good. In fact, paladins may have to be.
Yeah.
Paladins may have had to be lawful good
Lawful good.
in 3.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
3.5,
do remember
they were
that
lawful good.
being- Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 they are lawful good.
Okay, so with the exception of paladins on this list, an important thing that most people completely forget is these are typical alignments,
Yes.
not 100% dictated by rules.
These are typical. Okay, so depending on what you're talking about depends on how much they lean into that alignment. Devils are almost always lawful evil, for example.
That is true. Devils and demons are almost always lawful evil.
But yeah, but basically,
Archons are almost always lawful good.
Yeah.
Chaos stuff. But you can find non. They're very rare, but you can find non-good Archons and stuff and non-evil.
you occasionally get exceptions. Like sometimes drows are neutral evil, but they're almost always chaotic good rebels against their society.
Also, the important thing in this chart is that cannibalism is okay, not evil.
What?
Yeah, lizard folk practice cannibalism as a regular thing. They're neutral.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, this edition is... I don't want to claim that it is the most mechanically tied to its alignments, because I just don't know enough about previous editions, but it is a very heavy... there is a decent amount of mechanics in this edition when it comes to alignment. Not just...
There is a chunk of stuff that hard locks in circle.
Yeah, not just the classes that we've vaguely gone over that are alignment locked. Bard also can't be lawful, for example.
Cool.
Yeah. Monk has to be lawful. I think that just about covers it. Druids have to be some form of neutral.
Druids have to be some form.
Yeah. There's also spells that play off of alignment, and when you go to the outer planes and you're not a compatible alignment, and by that I mean usually the exact alignment, especially for the extreme ones, yeah, it fucks with you.
Yep. Negative levels.
Now, as far as alignment is concerned in the fluffy character description system, it's okay if you want one to exist in your game at all, which I've kind of come around to the opinion that it just doesn't need to be there.
It's mostly okay. It's like a general rule, but
yeah,
like a lawful good person can do things that are chaotic, do things that are. It's more of a, they will typically be lawful.
Yeah, they'll typically they'll typically stick within the law and typically work towards good, but they will, based on who they are, this can break, because characters are more dimensional than two things, and quite frankly, I haven't. Yeah,
all characters are exactly what it says in the paper.
Yes. And frankly, when it comes to other games' attempts to make their own alignment systems, I come back to actually liking this one more precisely because it is so kind of vaguely defined. It's like, for example, a White Wolf's World of Darkness style system of nature and demeanor, where you try and make basically like, what is your character like on the inside? Where is your character like on the outside? Here's a bunch of words. You might not even know what they mean. It's like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do, but this isn't quite work.
Yeah,
it works as like it works,
but this is fine to be like, my character's generally good.
Yeah, it works as stage direction, but if you're actually trying to like flesh out a character, it may just work outside of that.
Yeah.
And again, the best alignment system is probably, don't worry about it, just figure out what the personality of your character is.
I mean, personality characters aren't really alignment so much.
Yeah.
I view this more of a, like, it's not even half of a moral compass, because that'd be the good and evil part of it. Whereas lawful and chaotic is just like...
It's method, basically. It's morals and method.
Yeah, morals and method.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, moving on to the other thing about Greyhawk is they gave you a decent list of gods that just can kind of be plunked into a campaign pretty well. Even if you're
Some
not,
of which still exist.
huh?
Actually, a portion of which still exists.
A portion of which do still exist. I mean, you can use all of them for all it matters in the
You could.
modern
Really
campaigns.
stop you from wanting.
Yeah. But yeah, going over them quickly. Bokob, God of Magic. Not really much to say. That's pretty straightforward. Corellin Larthian? I've never heard this pronounced because no one cares. Is the god of elves.
Yeah, he's the elf god.
That one still exists. And I think is hermaphroditic, actually. Currently.
Sounds
it's weird.
right.
Yeah.
I think all the race gods still exist.
Yes.
I don't remember if we had our big talk about Grumish on stream.
No, we had that off stream. We'll get to that when we get to Grumish. Lonia, Elona, I don't remember this god existing.
Neutral good nature god.
Yeah, woodlands, neutral good. It should be noted that some of these gods got a lot more screen time than others, and or were just more appealing concepts.
Yep.
This would technically be a god. So, in spite of the alignment system being a major thing and them having a decent pantheon of gods, you do not by default have to worship a god even as a clerk. You can just stand for a couple of concepts. One major thing of these gods, however, is if you do worship a god, it does have some
Domain.
it determines what domains you actually can choose. Notably, you have to be within one alignment step of the god
step
itself.
of the god.
Yeah. And gods have favored weapons.
Did you get proficiency?
Yes, which you can get proficiency with. I think the ward
If you're a cleric.
If you're a cleric, yeah. And I think the default is longsword if you don't actually pick a god as a cleric.
I think it's maybe think about Pathfinder. I know there was good, evil. I know there was 5 basically generic weapons. That was like a good weapon, an evil weapon, a lawful weapon, a chaotic weapon. If they are off the top of my head. But I also don't remember 100% of that was just a Pathfinder thing. It was also, it's also not that important.
Entirely possible. Yeah, I don't see anything under cleric when it comes to the not having a deity. But yeah. Any case,
Earth.
yes, god who really skimped on his vowels. God of slaughter. Here's a chaotic evil god you could just throw in there in case you want.
Yep, you want general evil murdery god, as opposed to across from Hex Door, general evil lawful god.
Yeah. But yeah.
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit, yes. God of roads. This is possibly my first time seeing it. It isn't my first time seeing it, but it might as well be. Again, this is the one that just doesn't come up and doesn't appeal to player characters much. Garl Gold, on the other hand, God of Gnomes, and a fun name
God
to
of
say.
no.
I mean, this requires somebody to run a gnome, but
It happens sometimes. I mean, people don't always do the best.
yeah. Okay,
important thing about Garl, the most important thing about Garl Glittergold is that it mentions the Kobold God that isn't otherwise mentioned here.
Yes.
Back.
Okay, Grummish, who is the chaotic evil god of orcs in this edition, and has a bit of flavor text in Player's Handbook 2024 that annoys me. The thing we alluded to off stream.
Because he is still the god of orcs, even in current.
Which I find kind of annoying.
Even though I believe he's still also chaotic evil.
No, he's not. That's the dumb
part.
part.
They changed his alignment. That's right, they changed his alignment.
Yeah. They changed his alignment and description, and why didn't you just rename him while we were at it? That's my actual issue. It's like, you can still...
keeping the name. Look, we thought of a name, we didn't forget it, we're keeping it.
just like add an E in there somewhere or something. It's like...
Gromeshi.
Exactly. Heronius, god of paladins. We seriously, what fucking is?
A very typical lawful good god.
Yeah.
followed immediately by Hextor, very typical
Oh,
lawful
lovely
evil
evil
god.
god. You can see how their signs are, or their religious symbols are very close to each other as well.
Guy holding lightning bolt and not holding it.
Yeah. Cord, god of strength.
Yep.
Has the
Barbarian
advantage of
god,
having it.
just good, strong people.
Yep. Also has the advantage of being pronounceable.
So a handful of these are pronounceable. It's like 50-50.
They are, yeah.
Actually, it's like 75.
It's only like a few of the ones that no one ever practically uses. I think partially because they're
Well, yeah, because you can't say their name. Are you properly giving prayer to? Was that Faralgan?
I'm walking on a road, so I guess so. According to Forgotten Realms, that counts.
Yep.
Good enough.
Moradin, god of dwarves, is lawful good, notably.
Yep.
This god stands for pretty much exactly what you think he would as a god of dwarves.
Smithing and shit.
Yeah.
And being a dwarf.
Yeah. Nerul, god of death. Very common villain for you to see in any campaign that involves undead.
Yep, neutral evil, just down with death.
Yeah.
Had a paladin campaign. Question.
Yeah. Obon High, god of nature. Wait, didn't we have one of those?
What? Elwood High?
No,
Yeah, god of nature?
God of woodlands and forests.
Yep.
Okay,
Federal nature.
Nature and wilderness. And did you guys make two? Did you guys make two overlapping gods and forget
No.
that you didn't?
They're completely different, okay?
Clearly, as listed in that, Elona was way too not purely neutral for him, so he had to make his own god.
Let's see.
Blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, it is neutral good versus neutral. There's a neutral evil nature god. I'm going to at least applaud you for consistency. Lidamara, god of rogues. Chaotic neutral. This god stands for exactly what you think it does.
Yep.
Being a dick.
No, being a rogue.
Yeah, rogues, bards, that kind of trickery. The other generic good god.
Yep,
Also,
Pelor, god of
Krampus, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
That's because I dropped up until very recently. My internet cut out.
Oh,
Oh no, you like
okay.
like since you came back, you had not said a thing.
Generic good god associated with the sun, as opposed to generic good god associated with valor, justice.
Let's see. Promotes justice, valor, chivalry, honor. Yeah. When I say god of paladins, I'm not kidding.
Got it.
Do you swear to be good and not naughty?
No. But then again, I'm not a paladin, so.
Yeah. Pelor, if you want to be slightly less,
If you want to be good, but not just completely shoehorned into the also being a paladin side of it.
Yeah. Saint Cuthbert, god of retribution.
We needed a generic lawful god.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, have you violated the law? I'm going to beat your ass.
Pretty much. It's also worth noting that he cannot have evil clerics.
Yes.
But despite the name of the step. He is specifically not evil. Lawful god.
Yeah. Vecna. Okay, Vecna's actually got much more of a history.
We don't have the time to go into the entirety of Vecna, but Vecna does have a lot going on.
Yeah. Vecna has a lot of history and a couple of magic items, which, if you've guessed it is a hand and an eye, you're correct. Artifacts, I should say.
And the head of Vecna.
Yep, and the head of Vecna.
Which is one of my favorite stories about a party ever.
Yes.
In D&D.
That was
Presumably there's like a couple legs and a body somewhere, but...
Okay, the other thing about Vecna is it's an anagram for Vance. As in Jack Vance. as in Vancian magic, which is the magic. Basically, Jack Vance's Dying Earth system's magic system is what they used for D&D. Or from Jack Vance's novel, The Dying Earth. I could have said that a lot better.
But Vecna has a history from like near the start of all the way to current. So
yeah, makes appearances in a lot of early modules. Granted, early modules of D&D are a lot. At a certain point, especially when it came to AD&D Second Edition, they churned out a lot of modules. Mainly because whenever they printed something, they got money in advance from their publisher, regardless of what they sold. And yes, this was a scam.
publish everything.
Vecna is also a name that some people who have never actually played D&D might be familiar with. It is one of the names that is used in Stranger Things for a creature.
That makes sense.
It's why, for the longest time, people thought that Dead by Daylight was getting a second Stranger Things collaboration because they were making a Vecna, as in D&D Vecna, killer, but all the files that they had just said Vecna.
Right then. Goddess of Death and Magic. Wait, didn't we have another one of those?
Yes. Nerul, who is also god of death.
Nerul
god of death, as opposed to Jazz, god of death and yeah, we also have magic gods. Stop asking. Look, making new gods is hard, okay?
Especially in the same book you're putting them out in.
Okay, yes, Bokob was also a god of magic. Wait.
Correct. Jazz clearly didn't like how Nerul was his job and Bokob his job. So she decided to make her own dominion with literally those two things.
And Yadala, god of halflings.
Yep.
Or goddess of halflings.
Yep.
Yep.
Everybody's got to have a rep.
Yep, lawful good god. Yeah, espouses generally being happy. Don't worry about it too much.
Yep.
All right. Also in this chapter is vital statistics.
You want to randomly determine your starting age and height and all that stuff. Here's some tables.
Yep. What's nice about this is it does give you a decent range for, especially the fantasy races, for both age, height, etc. So you kind of have some idea, like the variance to some extent, and differences from like humans.
Yeah. It's just a shame that elves were babies for like 50.
Yep.
Yeah, adulthood's 110. So I don't actually have a complaint too much about the adulthood part, because that seems completely silly for elves, but don't worry about it. The complaint I actually have is, why does it take them longer to learn to be like any class than a human?
Yeah, it's one of those things of when you're making a fantasy race, to have them long lived, you don't need to have their the rate of which they like physically mature be the same percentage as a human's.
I mean, no, wait, I've got this. Okay, so based on the elf documentary Freerun, elves perceive time differently than us due to their incredibly long lifespan. So while they may actually learn that thing as quickly as a human, it just takes them longer to actually decide to use it.
Like, it's more of the idea of, you can have the elf races, they're a baby for a few years, like a human, and then you get to the point of a normal.
Oh, I'm certain that elves actually probably do become are no longer babies after a couple of years. I just like the concept of making it equivalent lengths. So humans become adulthood at 15, elves become adulthood at 110. That means like elves are like kids till they're like 5. That means elves are kids till they're like 40.
But
Because conceptually, it's funny.
there is a little bit of truth in that, actually, because as we've established,
Based on what?
because as we've established, D&D takes a little bit from Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings absolutely treats. Well, the elves in Lord of the Rings absolutely treat any elf who's like under 100 or something as like an impetuous youth who's setting off firecrackers in the backyard.
Yes, the difference is just because they are treated as they're juvenile doesn't make them physically juvenile and unable to learn shit.
No. These are full-grown adults. Like Legolas is one of those, to my recollection.
Yes, he is. They treat him like a young, immature kid.
And he's Orlando Bloom and Onion.
Yes. The point is, he's still quite skilled and capable of doing adventuring stuff.
Yes, and that is a point of contention in elf society.
Yeah, but then he decides what spells he wants to do, spends like 20 years figuring that out because he has time for it.
And then speaks German all the time. You're right.
Speaks German all the time. Yes, exactly. And honestly, I don't even need to screw or shoehorn other things into here into my blatantly referencing Fearinx I can part of this elf conversation. In that Fearin uses German for all of its names, anyways. So
yeah,
it does.
I don't have to shoehorn in the elves or German thing.
Right. So
Elves are German.
So other thing to point out, aging effects, because this is actually a mechanical thing.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically the older you are, the bigger a penalty you get to physical stats and bigger a bonus you get to mental stats.
Yep.
The physical stat bonus gets bigger than the mental stat, or physical penalty gets bigger than the mental stat bonus.
Yep.
Yep.
Which is why it's either monks or druid, I forget which, have an ability that...
It's monk.
Yeah, it's monk. They stop physically aging, so they get none of the physical penalties, but all the mental bonuses.
Yep. And then there's some tables if you want to random a height.
Right. Druids also get timeless body, it looks like. Yeah, druids also get timeless body. So yeah, both monks and druids stop aging once they reach a high enough level, which means the druid and monk players will want to pause the campaign, wait like 50 years or so, and then reap the benefits of their like +3 to int, wisdom, and charisma. I don't know.
One thing I do find interesting is that media tends to have elves be very tall.
Yeah.
But in base D&D, elves are shorter than humans.
So I would have to go reread it. I believe in Lord of the Rings they are shorter. And it's just other shit has made them tall.
I don't remember one way or another from the other, from other material. It is also weird because it's like other fantasy reference to elves are like diminutive race or a diminutive race of
yeah.
I don't know, like shoe cobblers or toy makers.
Yeah, there's as far as fantasy goes, there's two effectively separate elf concepts of the like small diminutive fae like elves, like Santa's helpers and that kind of stuff. You know, the shoe cobbler and that kind of thing. And then there's Lord of the Rings fantasy elf. Regular person who has pointy ears.
Yep.
Well, the aged or the ageless,
unaging.
The unaging, beautiful.
Need to codify elf terminology.
Yeah. We have to codify orc terminology soon too, for basically the same reason. It's like, okay, is this a pig-faced elf or is this a Warcraft elf? Or not? Sorry, is this a pig-faced orc or a Warcraft orc?
Pig orcs are a Japanese thing, but they do still use orcs, so that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is this World of Warcraft noble green human orc, or is this with some big teeth, or is this pigman orc, or is this goblinish orc like Lord of the Rings has?
Or is this Warhammer Orc with a K?
Or
Or is this Warhammer Orc with a C?
K?
He's the best orcs.
He's the best orc. He said it. I don't want
He's
to fight
gonna
with him.
argue.
I'm not gonna.
He's going to crumb me.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
And
arguing
I
with
would prefer to remain uncrumbed.
that.
Oh, look at him with his thinking muscles and his uncrumped bones.
Let's see. All right, equipment.
Gold based on your class.
Yep, you get starting gold based on your class. Monks get the short end of the stick, but at the same time, don't really have anything to buy, so it's kind of okay, I guess.
I was gonna say they're not allowed to use armor, so yeah.
Okay, so it's a yes and no on that. They're not allowed to use armor. Their weapons are any weapon they're going to use is a monk weapon, which is fairly cheap by default. As they're not just punching things with their fist, which they usually are. I mean, they can use a quarterstaff they want. The bigger issue is it doesn't really give them much of a shopping list as far as non-combat equipment is concerned.
They don't do anything. They're a monk. God, my eyes.
That that was a very small table, but yeah. So D&D's that's 3.5's money system is actually a very simple money system in the sense that everything is calculated in gold, and there's technically 3 other types of money. This only matters to some extent if the DM is really heavily enforcing weight and realizes that you're carrying around, I don't know, everything in copper.
The GDP of a small country.
I mean, yeah, player characters are regularly carrying around the GDP of a small country after, like, I don't know, 5 levels.
Money scales quite high. To the point where the starting wealth for like level 20 characters like 800,000 gold or something crazy like that.
Yeah. It should be noted, like, I think one gold is like the salary for your average person for a month. Or something insane like that.
Something along the lines of like a farmhand makes something like a couple coppers a day.
Yeah. Yes. Another feature of this edition.
Conversion table.
Yep. Because weapons, depending on size, did more or less damage, because we had to have weapon sizes for reasons.
Because you had small races.
Yeah.
You didn't have large races, but you had things using regular weapons that were using large weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, this is another thing about this edition is, like, this is incredibly granular. Technically, small is on the table with the medium weapons. Yeah. That's the reason why it doesn't appear here. But
small is on the regular weapon.
Yeah. But yeah, it sometimes gets a little bit too granular with what's trying to do, in my opinion. Just, like, do we really need different weapon damage by size? Is this really that
technically
necessary?
Also matters when you change yourself sizes.
Yeah.
Use a larger person.
Because that's more finicky stuff I'd love to do on the fly every time I change my size with a spell.
I mean, at least these aren't hard.
No, they aren't. I do like...
It is literally... everything down, it's one step. Going up, it's a bit weird on some.
It's also weird in the sense that a D12... You will never get a D12 from converting a die. You only get out of a D12.
Correct. I mean, there's like one weapon that uses D12 anywhere. Maybe 2 weapons in base book that use D12. I think
I think it is just Great Axe.
Clubs, or if not them, then just Great Axe.
Yeah, I think it's just Great Axe.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that's the next table, so we can take a look. Looks like it's just Great Axe. Yeah, it looks like it's just Great Axe.
Yes. It's exclusive. It's such a who cares thing. It's only the Great Axe.
Yeah.
But it is also the oddity of that D12 goes to 2D8.
D12 goes to 3D6, actually.
Oh, 3D6. D10s go to 2D8.
Yeah.
It'd be confusing.
There's logic behind it, but I'll be damned if I want to try and figure it out again. I think as a percentage of the average goes up by some amount or something like that. I don't want to look at it too closely or try to figure it out. It's not that important. But yeah, the weapons tables. So there's simple weapons. Then there's martial weapons, which are generally better than simple weapons. Then there are exotic weapons, which generally suck. And you need an extra feat in order to use.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So it does basically boil down to simple weapons, the stuff most everyone can use, but not everyone, because wizards, I think wizards are the ones on top of my head don't get simple weapons. Most people can use, and they're standard weapon club spears, that kind of martial weapons, which are
wizards
require martial weapon proficiency, but are basically just a half step above or a step above standard weapons. You can kind of just look across the thing and be like, oh, here's a standard or a simple weapon that does a D4. Here's the upgrade version, same stats as 6, and so on. Or you'll see things like the Kukri that still has a D4, but instead has an 18 to 20 crit range, opposed to a 19 crit range. It's all basically a step up in damage die or crit range, etc., compared to this.
Which is actually one of the more or less unique features of this edition when it comes to weapons is the crit ranges and crit multipliers.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily a good thing, especially when they are... If you want player characters to randomly explode, just give enemies things that have 4 times crit multipliers.
Hey, it's worth noting. You don't always need 4 times crit modifiers. That's less common.
But 3 times was not.
But 3 times is not. In fact, the standard weapon for a enemy orc is a great axe. So at the level when your character has max hit die plus spawn modifier as their health, so a fighter, for instance, is going to have something like 12 or 13 hit points if they put a really 16 con. Your orc, who has a +4 strength bonus, so he has it and has the 2 wield as a 2-hand weapon, so he has at least 3 extra damage on his attack, does D12 plus 3.
Yep.
And because he has a decent strength bonus, actually has a relatively high attack bonus at level 1 when you would theoretically be fighting a lot of orcs. So your average orc has a pretty good chance of hitting and then one-shotting practically anyone in your party, and instantly killing them if they crit, because times 3 weapon, their flat at that point becomes like 13, or becomes 12. And their average is something like 20 some odd.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. Base orcs
I think they started with
3.5,
Falchion, weren't they?
They start with falchions, which is almost worse.
Yes, because it's an 18 through 20 crit range. Now, no, they still have to confirm the crit, which is a unique thing of this edition. Just because you rolled something in the crit range doesn't mean you necessarily crit. You have to actually roll to hit again.
And to be fair, if you have a large crit range, that number you rolled has to actually be able to hit to begin with.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're attacking something that's an absurd AC that you can't hit on your 15 through 20 crit range, you have to roll a 20.
Yeah. But yeah, crit fishing was very much a thing in this edition. Especially with weapons that either have a high crit range. Well, mostly with the weapons that have a high crit range. The times 4 ones, well, could be hilarious, and if you had some way of rigging the die roll, especially, generally didn't come up as much. Especially when you got into later books, which... go ahead.
No, go for it.
Especially when you got into later books where there are feats that actually trigger off of you critting something.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just want better crit range.
Yeah.
Which, by most of the time, you typically went with. They're really like 2 lines of thought with a third strain or third offhand one, which is typically most everyone's going to go for the biggest crit range they can. Because a lot of times getting a big times 3 crits is going to overkill what you're attacking anyways, or times 4 crits is going to overkill what you're attacking anyways.
Yeah, unless
you're typically going for something like a scimitar or rapier because they're 20s one-hand weapons, or a great sword if you're doing 2-handed. Even though a falchion is a better crit range, the great sword is just better flat damage. 2d.
Yeah.
The weird outlier is the scythe, which is a times 4 weapon, but does end up with enough flat being the highest. But it requires like 30 or 40 flat damage to get multiplied by it. It actually ends up out DP. And again, you're going to overkill the shit out of things a lot of the attack then anyways, because if you hit something that's 60 health left, but you do an extra 120 of flat, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're basically wasting the extra damage, so it doesn't really matter that much.
And then, as Vince said, exotic weapons are horrifically situational. Is a good way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah. For an extra feat, at best you're getting let's see. Weapons that are actively worse than anything in the martial category, or like the same at best. Then there's the double. Okay, then there's the double weapons, which
if you're dual wielding, it's like getting a 1-step bump on your.
Yeah, basically. The big issue with double weapons is they don't solve the fundamental issue dual wielders tend to have, in the sense that magic items are very much a thing in this edition, and you have to have 2 magic weapons, and weapons are expensive. Or magic weapons are expensive.
And double weapons do have to have each head separately enchanted. Actually,
Yes.
save you in that regard.
So you don't really get around the issue of it's expensive to actually have 2 good weapons.
Yep. Then there are the 2 odd ones, the bastard sword, and the dwarven war axe, which are exotic / martial weapons. If you wield them with 2 hands, they're martial weapons. If you one-hand them, they're exotic weapons.
Also, I believe
they are the one case of being effectively just a damage step up from equivalent one-handed weapons in martial. Much like martial weapons are typically 1 step up from simples, but they require.
Also, in that giant list of abilities that dwarves have, they do treat dwarven war axes and the Urgosh or dwarven Urgosh as martial weapons.
Yeah, they have proficiency. Yeah. Same thing with orcs. Treat the double.
No, that's more class features than they had.
Oh, well, fair enough. Oh, and there's the most dangerous weapon in the world, the dire flail.
Yes, the dire flail. Let's put a flail on both ends of this small stick.
What could possibly go wrong?
Wait a second. Where are you?
You're trying to find the image of the dire flail?
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, because I know I didn't put it on the slides, but yeah, the dire flail. Which, strangely enough, is not the most stupid-looking weapon in this book. I think that would actually have to go to the spike chain.
What's wrong with the spike chain?
How the fuck are you not supposed to hurt yourself using this?
You hold one end and you swing it like a chain.
Hold it where?
Pick a ring. Pick a blade.
You hold the ring, and then one of the rings that's in between the chains. I don't know. I'm not trained with martial weapons. That's probably an exotic one. God knows if that's not an exotic one.
Oh yeah, spike chain is
absolutely exotic weapon.
It was actually one of the more worthwhile exotic weapons. I'm using this term very loosely. Yeah, spike chain. Mostly because I think it naturally had reach, but unlike other reach weapons, is usable within 5 feet of yourself.
I think it's a reach weapon that's usable within 5 feet. I think.
Yeah.
You could find would actually have. That's the other thing. There's also a handful. All a handful of these weapons also have extra rules that just aren't on the table. Like as you can see, dagger gives you a +2 bonus inside of hands to hide it.
Yeah. Not everything does. You have to read them. The composite weapons are like the most.
Flails have bonuses to disarm.
Yeah. Flails have bonuses to disarm. Composites are the most deceptive thing as well. So your composite longbow will have a strength bonus on it, based on how much extra money you paid for that strength bonus.
Yep.
It will add that bonus to damage.
Yep.
But if you don't have the prerequisite strength, you get you are able to add up to your strength, up to that bonus of your strength bonus to damage. But if you do not have that much strength, you basically are shit at using
Take a penalty.
Yeah.
lets you get a flat damage on a bow attack at the cost of needing to have that much strength and penalties if you don't.
Okay, and after that, we get to the armor section. Basically, the highest thing in each of these sections is the only thing we're caring about most. Past,
Correct.
like
Chainmail, you got breastplates, you got full plate. Anything else is not worth taking.
Yeah. In truth,
except padded. If you have really, really, really high deck, padded.
Yes. If you have really high deck, well, leather technically it's the same. Or no, it is padded. Yeah.
Nope.
If you
padded is better than leather.
Yeah. If you also, all these stats are somewhat of a lie when you start getting to higher levels because almost everything will be made of mithril. Usually.
Well, not leather.
Not
leather or padded.
Not leather or padded, but like everything else, which also makes leather more useless because mithril increases the dex bonus by 2.
Then you get chain shirt, get increased dex bonus by 2.
Yeah.
Which is why you chain shirt, breastplate, and full plate are always the viable option.
Yeah, because they're all metal and you can always make them out of mithril.
Yeah. Eventually we get other armors like mountain plate.
But yeah, if you actually add like the armor and max dex bonuses together, it's like it's full plate and padded that gives you the biggest of these two. Yeah, full plate and padded give you the biggest bonus. Full plate and padded
gives you the biggest too. Chain shirt and breastplate both give you 8.
Yeah.
And full thing give you 7.
The only issue being, okay, so you actually have 3 different ACs in this edition. It is, you have straight up AC, where you basically get to add all bonuses to AC to your AC. You have flat-footed AC, where you don't get to use your dex or your dodge bonus. This only really comes up in the first round of combat before you act, unless you have uncanny dodge. And then there's your touch AC, which will come up all the goddamn time, because spells usually target your touch AC, which is only your dex and dodge bonus. And deflection bonus, sorry. Deflection bonus counts as well in that.
Did typeless bonuses fall into that one too?
I believe typeless bonuses do count, but those are so damn rare.
And then there's flat-footed touch AC, which is effectively 10.
Yeah.
You have no dex or anything fancy to your AC. You are being touched, and you are completely unaware of the touch or attack, effectively.
Yeah. Your deflection would be added. That's it.
Yeah.
Because both dex and dodge bonus goes
luck
away
bonuses could still be in both those, I think, actually.
Yeah, possibly luck bonus.
But yeah. There's a lot of bonus types.
There are. We'll go over them when we get to the DM. There are the DM's guides, because the DM's guide is the second part of the player's handbook in a lot of sections.
Rulebook part 2.
Yeah. We'll go over it when we get to that there. But yeah, basically there's a lot of different bonus types.
Yep.
Other than that, oh yeah, shields. So unlike 5th edition where we have shield, don't fucking worry about it. There's one type. We have 5 different types of 6 different types of shields. Shields. I forgot bucklers existed.
Yep. You got bucklers. The only real claim to fame of bucklers is that you can still get your AC bonus if you're using a short bow with a buckler. Then you have light shields, which are 1 AC, heavy shields, which are 2 AC. They can be made of steel or wood. These are separate things on the table for no good reason. And then tower shields, which are an oddity in which they effectively work kind of like armor by giving you a big armor bonus. But you can also instead just get cover with them.
They also are the only shield with a max dex bonus.
Yes, they impose a max dex on it. And have a horrific armor check penalty.
Yes. I cannot, for the life of me, remember if anyone ever used a tower shield for anything in any campaign.
No, because you can't bash with them.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, the only thing you really get out of it as a positive is like the +2 AC, and I guess you can use it for cover if you really want to.
There were feats that made it better, but even then, it was never good.
No. And tower shield proficiency, only fighters have it. No one else.
Yep.
Let's see. Extras. You can put spikes on your armor. You can put locking gauntlets on your armor. You can put spikes on your shields. Anyways,
Spikes on shields are important for making shield bash builds, which I always stand.
Yeah, and armor spikes are weird for strange, very interesting interpretations of dual wield builds.
Yes, where you technically can make offhand attacks with armor spikes. You could do a two-handed weapon and armor spikes and dual wield them as a strange oddity.
Yeah. Which again is another weird feature of this edition of, well, the positives of having this weird-ass granularity sometimes is occasionally stuff like that comes up. Where it's like, oh, I can make a character that uses like a two-handed weapon and armor spikes. This doesn't make up for the overcomplicated nature of like, why do we have 6 fucking types of shields? Just why? Just,
well, because we wanted to give large and small shield options to, or heavy and light shield options to druids, I guess, and they need to be split. And then buckler is also its own weird thing, and we wanted tower shields to be a thing. Really, there's 4 types of shields.
There's 4 types of shields, and
there should maybe be 3.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really need light and heavy shields. Just do a shield that's +2, a buckler that's +1, a heavy tower shield that's 4.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really need buckler and light shield as a separate thing.
Yeah.
And even light shield I kind of question anyways, so.
Like I said, you can just drop light shield and use heavy shield.
Or yeah.
Keep buckler the things that has a unique interaction with short bows.
Even then, how much does that really even matter?
I mean, they want bow to be one of the best. They want straight archer to be one of the best class or things you can do as a martial class in the game. So we might as well also let them get a shield bonus.
Light bow was
short bows are D6.
Or short bow, yeah. D6, yeah. Like you're trading 1 damage for 1 AC, I guess.
You're trading 1 damage. 6 AC. It's a shield. You can enchant it.
Oh, that's true. You can enchant shields.
You're losing 6 AC by not having shield.
Yeah.
Or not having at least a 1+1 shield buckler. It's all about optimizing the numbers at endgame. Lacking a piece of gear is often a -5.
At which point you might as well lack all of them at a certain point. It's like, oh, it has such a high-ass bonus that if I haven't stacked bonuses myself, I'm just going to get hit regardless.
Yep.
Alright, adventuring gear. This has a long and storied history in D&D in the sense that I would honestly say this is where most of character creation was for a lot of the older edition, because other than rolling your stats, everything else was just basically prescribed. Well, everything else was basically prescribed at first level. As you got more complicated, you might have gotten non-weapon proficiencies, but like your bread and butter was your adventuring gear that you were carrying around, because that's how you did things and solved problems. Like, spells were very rarely cast because you didn't really have that many spell slots either.
Yeah, you just had to save up. You buy a bag of wrath.
Exactly. But yes, there are a few traps that can't be solved by the classic 10-foot pole.
There's a trap up there. Slap it with the pole.
Yep.
Danger head. Slap it with the pole.
Ah, like that. I've replaced my rogue.
No, it's a magical trap that only triggers on characters, not objects.
Okay, fine. We'll throw the rogue at it.
Okay, guys.
But you left your rogue behind because you think you didn't need him.
Guys, we can compromise. We can put the rogue and tie him to the end of the 10-foot pole.
There you go.
Poke things with that.
But yeah, there's various things of some use and of why the fuck is there a clay pitcher on this list? And
well, you need an object to hold water.
Like a water skin?
Yeah, but that's different pitcher.
Let's see. But yeah, that aside, transport, spellcasting, and services, these are all kind of nice. There's also kind of the question of how much of an economics game are you playing here? At a certain point, you're just annoying the crap out of yourself, your players, and everyone
I
in the
want
room.
my players to track each individual mug of ale. Also, specifically each loaf of bread and hunk of cheese they get.
But yeah, you can spend a lot of time at character creation shopping for various pieces of gear and things to put them in, and I don't know, a fucking carriage. But at a certain point, like, where do you just wave your hands and go, okay, you have stuff. You have basic adventuring stuff. Don't worry about it. Especially since after a while, at first level, this can kind of matter, but after first level, this will all change.
I wasn't thinking about the fact that we'd be showing this page, which actually has something incredibly important just to us all.
Huh.
Oh.
The hidden name of a great character.
Yes, this does have a saddle, or this does have saddle exotic. So when you're looking for a name for a character, one thing you can do is randomly open the player's handbook and just point to something.
Did you randomly open the player's handbook and point to the saddle exotic section of the mounts related gear character and just decided, yes, that character's name is Saddle Exotic? Yes, that happened.
But yeah, I think like honestly the most relevant thing as just a random expense a higher level party is going to possibly have is spellcasting and services, or more specifically spellcasting, because you know
buying horses is kind of expensive.
It can
but
be.
Spellcasting definitely gets higher.
Yeah.
Or buying boats.
Yes, or buying
boats.
Because
you can buy boats. They're 10 to 30k depending on the size of the.
Yeah. You spend 25k on a warship. Yeah, 30k on a galley.
Cheap boat.
Yep.
Need better boats than that if you want to be Hurricane King.
So yes, if your campaign is built around boats, you at least have some idea what they cost. Alright. Combat. Yeah, this game has combat. This game is mainly this game's rules are mainly based around combat, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so combat in this game is played on a grid of squares. Movement on this grid of squares is 5 feet equals 1 square. Sort of. Kind of.
Kind of. Unless you're moving diagonally, in which case every other diagonal square is 10.
Yeah. The first one is 5, the second one is 10, the next one is 5, the one after that is 10, and
they got rid of this for current edition.
They got rid of this in 4th edition. They got rid of this immediately. It's like I actually kind of get the idea on that one. What it actually does...
It tries to make diagonal movement equivalent to non-diagonal movement, because just moving diagonally is technically moving more distance than moving like up then right than up then right.
It also
trying to approximate that.
Yeah. It also makes it when you start doing area of effects, they are not... Everything isn't a square. It actually makes it like a cone looks like a cone. A circle looks vaguely like a circle.
A circle.
Yes, all these squares make a circle.
Yeah.
You said the thing.
As opposed to, what is this? It's 30. It's just a big square.
Yeah. So how combat works? I throw my math at their math, and then math happens, and then there's damage. And stuff like that.
If my math is, whoever's math is greater, either inflicts damage or stops damage, and I throw some math to figure out how much damage to do.
And then the wizard takes a turn and the fight's over.
Pretty much. But we're on the spell section.
Yeah, we'll get to the spell section in a bit. But yeah. Let's see. So the combat basics. As we said, we're on a grid. Game is played in rounds. Everyone gets a turn during a round. You determine turn order by initiative, which... D20 plus Dex modifier plus 4 because you took the improved initiative feat.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. Characters are flat-footed until they take their first action for the entire combat.
Yep. If you are surprised, you don't act on the surprise round. So this is potentially 2 rounds of attacking people who are flat-footed.
Yep.
Also very important for rogues to have high initiative because they just get attack against flat-footed targets.
Yep. Movement when we head over. You forgo your standard action to make 2 move actions, in which case you move double speed, or you could run, in which case you move 4 times your speed.
Yep.
Attacks of opportunity exist as well. In this edition, if you are in someone's threatened square and you move at all, you provoke an attack of opportunity, asterisk, except if you don't. Let's see. You hit 0 hit points, you become unconscious. You hit negative 10 hit points, you die. Yep. So actions in combat. And let's talk about one of the most important things to basically every game that has a combat system ever, the action economics. Okay. This edition, you have a standard action, and you have a move action, which you can combine into a full round action. You also have free actions, which you can take any number of free actions in a turn, but you actually have to have them to take them. And then you have the no action table. So, if you forego moving in any capacity, any amount of squares, you can take a 5-foot step during your turn.
5-foot steps do not provoke.
5-foot steps are incredibly common for spellcasters to take because it gets them out of melee, because trying to cast in melee does provoke attacks of opportunity. You also get 1 attack of opportunity around unless you have combat expertise. Reflexes. Combat reflexes, in which case you get to add you get Dex modifier extra attacks. I think it was. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you think that was complicated, yes. So notably,
these are all things that seem complicated when you're first explaining them, but they're actually very simple when you're playing.
Yeah. Let's see. Going over what you can actually do with these actions. Standard action, you make a single attack at your highest attack bonus.
Yeah. Maybe provoking depending on the attack type.
Yeah. You may be able to cast a spell that depends on the spell. Almost all of them are standard action to cast, honestly.
The vast majority are standard action to cast.
And then there's let's see. Occasionally you have a familiar aid another, but that's not that no, you don't, because they can't actually do it. Aid another is a more complicated action in this edition. You actually have to beat a target number of 10.
Yep.
Concentrate to maintain an active spell. There are some spells that require concentration, but those are usually like, I'd like to say powerful ongoing effects, but I'm a liar if I say that.
Concentration to maintain an ongoing active spell is often less actually keeping the spell up as much as it is on the rare case when you have a multi-action or multi-turn casting spell to keep casting, basically.
Yeah. The spells that do have like concentration, it's usually part of the duration, and they're more something you do out of combat. Like Detect Magic is very much an out of combat spell.
Yeah.
Uses concentration.
Or Scry. Thing.
Yeah. And then a bunch of contextual actions that you will not often use unless, I don't know, you're grappled or something. Yeah.
There's like Drink Potion. You'll see that.
You'll see that on occasion. Yeah.
Escape Grapples in action.
Yeah.
The various overrunning, that kind of thunder is an combat tricks effect.
Yeah. Let's see. Move actions consist of, move, obviously. And draw weapons, load crossbow, because you're a level 1 wizard. That's why. Open or close a door.
Look, I have to reload my crossbow after I shot that man in the throat. He was laying on the ground.
Tales of Cutlass Spray. Sheath the weapon, stand up from prone, ready or loose a shield, retrieve a stored item. Man, I wish I could do more than just one of these things with one move action.
Well,
Remember, have all of your stuff ready for combat. Full round action, full attack. This is the only way. This is one of the major things that actually gimps all melee combat in this game is the full attack action. Because I can't move and do this. And it's not that powerful if you actually just let them do that in the first place. Because a full attack action is... It's this weird iterative thing where... for every +5... Or every time...
Base attack bonus.
Yeah, for every 5 points of base attack bonus that they can subtract and still have a positive base attack bonus, they get an extra attack when they do a full attack action.
Yep.
Which makes it makes number stacking even more important because you lose 25% off of your chance to hit with every successive attack.
Correct.
Thus driving the math even more to the stratosphere because you absolutely need to stack stuff if you want to do anything considered reasonable damage with a melee character. And B, you actually need to be in combat with things at the start of your turn or within like 5 feet of them because the only other thing you do is a 5-foot step. Or you could just be an archer, just shoot things.
Exactly. That's just shoot things, but they're also just bonus attack.
Yes. And if something got into melee view, don't worry, you can take a 5-foot step back and shoot them.
Yep. That could be a big thing with reach.
Yeah.
So there's also feats you don't provoke when you shoot in melee.
Yes. Yes, there's also a feat that makes it so you don't provoke when you shoot in melee. Let's see. Charge.
You move double your speed and make an attack at the end.
You double your speed in a straight line.
Double your speed in a straight line and make an attack at the end of it. Some stuff will also affect charges. Usually feats as the game progresses.
Yeah. Charges are supposed to be a way of melee to catch up to range or stuff like that. The bigger issue being there are a lot of things that were keeping melee from catching up to range. Because yeah, ideally, if the melee can get a range character into or a spellcaster into melee, they can lock them down. But realistically, no, they just take a 5-foot step and do whatever the hell they want. If you have a reach weapon, you can at least try and keep them at bay. But more realistically, the spellcaster is what you're actually worrying about. Let's see what else. Deliver coup de grace, escape from net. Okay.
The withdraw action is the other really important full round action. Withdraw is a double move that you don't provoke for the square you start in.
Yeah.
No, you do provoke for other squares. So if you would have to move through multiple threatened squares, withdraw does nothing for you. But if you do just need to get away from someone you're only in one of their threatened squares, withdraw away the game.
Alternatively, if you're a high enough level, and usually a rogue and no one else, and to put a shit ton of ranks into tumble, you can pretty much just go where you want.
Yes, you can tumble to ignore attacks opportunity and even move through enemy spaces.
Yeah.
This is quickie. The one other thing that you may see, which is actually a standard action, is the ready action.
Yes, ready action was fairly
common.
Most
complicated action on here.
Okay, it's the most complicated action to explain, not really the most complicated action to use, but it is basically like, I prepare to do X when Y happens.
When to actually explain happens, this, you do X.
Yeah, to explain this in a rule book is understandably kind of verbose, but that is basically the gist of it. Let's see. Other than that, there's all these combat maneuvers that you're never going to use, practically speaking, because A, they made them fairly hard, especially versus the stuff you'll actually be fighting. Even more so if you don't have any of the feats for them.
I mean, you could take AOs for not having for them. So.
You can take AOs, but you don't. There's also like the 20% difference of whether or not this
not having a +4.
Yeah. And chances are whatever you're fighting is going to be bigger than you, which makes it have so much better in combat. Or combat defense, then you get the point.
Yeah, it was one of the nice things that Pathfinder did by adding a separate combat defense for maneuver type stuff.
Yeah. But basically
game towards that.
Yeah, but yeah, basically size played a huge role in the equation, and the bigger something was, the harder it was for you to do stuff like anything, literally disarm them or trip them, sunder their weapons.
I don't think Sunder the weapon.
Sunder may have just been a... No,
I think it's still to hit is Sunder a weapon.
Yeah.
So you're basically just going against AC.
No, I was saying the fact that player characters tended to not want to Sunder because that's money.
Of course not. That's loot.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, talking's a free action.
That's cash money.
Speaking as a free action, the DM is actually supposed to, I think, intervene if you're trying to have like a 14-minute conversation in a single 6-second round of combat. But
yes, at a certain point, your DM tells you stop talking, move on.
I don't know if it was a house rule, but I was always told it was 6 words or less.
Alternatively, if you want to have long, drawn-out conversations as with these talking as a free action, that's perfectly fine. Your enemies are hearing everything you're talking about. Have fun doing your in-combat strategy that you're actively telling your opponents.
Rude.
No, we're doing this all on Drow sign.
Well, that's fine. There's probably a drow there.
I think it's fine. They're drow.
All right, adventuring. This is where we get the rule. This is where we get the various out of combat rules because we need them.
We need to shove them somewhere.
Yep, we need to shove them somewhere. Actually, they're mostly in the DM's guide, but they're here too. For I don't know.
It starts with carrying capacity. We can move right along. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, we already talked about carrying capacity. Let's see, movement.
We've shown that table already as well. Moving, walking.
Yeah, moving and walking.
The one action.
We haven't actually shown the movement and distances. This is actually one of the more interesting tables. It's not really useful per se, but it's like, how fast does someone travel in like a day of travel, for example?
You move 3 miles an hour, and you're assumed to only travel for 8 of a day.
Yeah.
Hence the 24 miles.
Yeah. How much this is needed is... Oh, okay, it's just not. It's like seriously, I just decide how long it's going to take them for travel from point A to point B and move on. That's
it matters. Having a decent baseline works when parties have faster or slower than normal movement.
Yeah, kind of, but
if the party entirely has horses,
yeah, I mean, you have a horse and a cart, you're going to travel at the pace of a horse, basically.
If you have a horse and a cart, but everyone could just
Yeah.
have horses in a cart, in which case you're moving speed 50 as opposed to 30.
Or the spellcaster.
Pretty significant difference. Or
Well,
you have a
spellcaster
spellcaster who just
solves
teleports.
this at a certain point. Oh yeah.
At a certain point, but at low levels you don't have teleport.
Low levels you don't have teleport, but you do have Phantom Seed, is it? Yeah. You can summon horses for
spell
everyone.
slot on you people.
That's the proper response.
Phantom Seed's gonna end the combat. I can't wait to spell slot on that.
There are non-combat days. Or just traveling.
I have to be prepared for knoll ambushes at any point.
That's important.
Knoll or kobolds that look suspiciously like gnolls. God damn you, Japanese kobolds.
Maybe I'm just minding my own business and a bunch of goblins pushing some sort of war machine. When am I supposed to do that? If I don't have sticks to snakes to try and stop them. A spell that doesn't exist.
It is the most important spell that doesn't exist.
Yes.
They might have eventually put sticks to stakes in 3.5. There's a lot of spells at a certain point.
There's a lot of spells at a certain point. I would not be surprised if it was somewhere, but I don't remember ever.
Definitely wasn't base or spell compendium.
No, it was base or spell compendium. Let's see. Okay, so we're done with that chapter. All right, moving on to magic. Which will be the main event
here for
of
the
tonight.
rest of existence.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we'll keep this as concise as we can. But yeah, spellcasting.
So 5 years later.
Let's see. This is page 169. The rest of the player's handbook is taken up by magic and spells. At least till we get to the glossary. So let me see where the spell section ends. Page 303.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds about right.
So yeah, you can understand exactly how important for good and ill that spellcasting is to this edition, almost just from that page count. Also how complicated it is. Vast majority of the rules of this edition kind of are bent around spellcasting in one way or another. Well, book space, anyways.
Just the spells themselves.
Yeah, most of that is the spells themselves. The magic section is basically just describing the rules of spells. There's not that at the very least is reasonably simple, if weird in its own right. Let's see.
Occasionally interesting spell art.
Yes.
And the most nonplussed, uncaring null existence. So we get the spell compendium.
Yes. But yeah, spellcasting concentration does not always come up. So concentration is a skill in this edition, which is the only con skill. Part of what makes con useful for casters, other than not dying to a stiff breeze. When your hit die is a D4, you're getting more out of con, quite frankly, than you are out of your actual hit die.
If you get hit while trying to cast a spell, which will most commonly be if you're casting a full round spell, or
if somebody took a ready action, especially
if someone took a ready action to attack.
Yeah.
Like usually, and they hit you and do damage, you have to make a con check of DC 10 plus the damage you take plus the level of spell you're casting.
Yeah.
So realistically, a con check you can't pass, especially at a certain point.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Your spell fails.
Do you remember a natural 20 does not automatically succeed? And yeah, at higher levels, you will take a lot of damage from that hit, and you will lose that spell.
Yep.
I mean, there are ways around this. If it's melee, for example, you took a 5-foot step.
They could have a reach weapon.
They could have a reach weapon. Again, you can cast defensively, which is also a concentration check. Yeah.
Yes. You can cast defensively, which is also a concentration check, but it's only DC 15 plus spell level.
Yeah, which after a while you will just pass that.
Vigorous or violent motion can do a con check or a concentration check.
Yes, violent weather.
Being entangled.
If any DM actually remember that these were the case, like grappled or pinned, those you'll usually remember. The vigorous violent motion or violent weather is something the DM found in the player's handbook and decided to screw with the spellcaster with, because
they didn't want the combat over in 1 second.
Possibly. But again, it's like violent. Let's see. The highest difficulty for this seems to be.
It's mostly 15. A low-level concern and not a high-level.
Yeah, it's mostly a low-level concern, not a high-level concern. Entangle is also just a straight DC 15 check. Yes. Grappler Pin is actually one of the few ways of legitimately dealing with spellcasters, because they can't use somatic component spells. A lot of spells have somatic components. And the DC to cast a non-somatic component spell is still very high. Like 20 plus level of spell.
Yep.
Alright. But yes, the one mild flaw, not really, that they built into spellcasting, because there's a lot of ways around this, quite frankly. Also, they do have to hit you.
Yes, they do. Which is often the resistance to getting hit by the marshals to just don't be a place where marshals go.
Yeah.
Fly is a spell for a reason.
Let's see, special spell effects, just basic description stuff. Some spells are attacks. Pretty much anything that's, let's see, anything that specifically like damages something or targets something and does an effect to them is an attack. Summoning is not. This matters because
may make attacks, but the summons themselves.
Yeah, this is notable because base invisibility breaks when you make an attack.
Summon a monster, it's actually attacking. It's just making a monster.
Yep.
Turn yourself invisible and cast summons all you want, which is good because they're also full round to cast.
Yep. Bonus types. This is actually how they keep spells from cast or stack. I believe a spell can't stack with the same spell of itself anyways, but this is also how they tend to keep even different spells from stacking with each other that they don't want to, except the ones they do. Basically,
except there's so many spells that you find the things will stack anyways.
Yes. But basically, you can only have the one bonus of any type with a few exceptions. So if you're getting, say, competence bonus to your attack rolls, you can only get that from one source. So you only ever get the highest one. So if you have 2 different spells that are giving you a competence bonus to your attack, you only get to use one of them.
The higher.
Yeah. What other thing of note is sometimes spells will specifically give you like armor bonus to AC, like what mage armor does. This won't stack with actual armor.
Yep.
Let's see. Also, yes, there's bringing people back from the dead. Base resurrection actually inflicts level loss because that's a thing in this edition very much, is the extra penalty to death is you also get to lose a level. Have fun.
Yep.
To the point of, like, the first time this happens, that's a bit painful. The second time this happens is, okay, can I just make a new character? I mean,
Yep.
No, be punished. Stop dying as I break your character's legs again.
Okay, Schools of Magic.
Defensive shit.
Yep, Abjuration, the defensive school. I think this actually has the most spells from what I remember. Or somewhere up there in that category.
It has a decent.
Yeah. Let's see. If an Abjuration spell is active within 10 feet of another for 24 hours or more, I did not know this was a rule. Nor does anyone else.
Also, it so doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It's like, oh, I guess it's easier to find them.
Yes, it's easier to find slightly multiple abjuration spells that are 24-hour duration or greater that are within 10 feet of you.
Have I complained about this edition in
Sticking little things like this all over the place just in text and not in like tables or anywhere else you'd actually look?
Especially the stuff that's like not even important. And is completely silly.
Also, the line underneath that is important. If you have a barrier against creatures, you can't just push that barrier into them to push them away.
Yeah.
Yep.
You cannot force a character into a barrier. It is a barrier again. This is important for things like protection. Not protection, a ward again is what it is. There's basically a cast this in an area, evil things can't enter that area type spell.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because circle protection.
Circle.
Had to be in there. All right. The biggest school.
Not creating shit. Well, actually, yes, creating shit.
Yeah. Conjuration,
Making
which has
shit
the
out
most
of
rules.
nothing.
Yep. It's a simple.
Also, teleportation for some reason. Also, I don't believe healing is part of this.
Yeah, I'll let you rant on that when we get there, but yeah, conjuration. So there's also subcategories to schools sometimes. But yeah, the subcategories for conjuration. Calling. Let's see. A calling spell transports a creature from another plane to here. You grab something from another plane. Creation. You make things. Summoning. You summon creatures from, I don't know, literally out of your ass when it comes to summons. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the difference is calling an actual individual creature.
Yeah.
Whereas summon is technically summoning a given creature, but
you don't pick.
Just go back and they don't actually die if they get killed while they're summoned. Whereas a called thing does just straight up die. It's the actual thing.
Yeah. Conjuration, teleportation, because we didn't want to make another school just for teleportation spells because there's like fucking 3, and I guess we'll throw it in conjuration.
Throw it in conjuration because
okay,
creation, a thing that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so and the one I skipped, healing. Okay, so in 3.0, healing spells were actually necromancy. The School of Life and Death.
The School of Life and Death.
But they decided...
No, necromancy is only death, though.
No, I'm pretty sure it still says School of Life and Death in here as well.
Let's go ahead for a second. Let's see. Power of Life, Death...
Death and Life Force.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so back to where we were. For what
they took healing spells out of necromancy and put them in conjuration in 3.5 from 3.0.
You are summoning median to people.
You are literally creating
no, 3.0 or yeah, in 3.5 from
3.0 was necromancy, 3.5 moved to consideration. It's dumb. All my campaigns have it back in necromancy or bull.
Yeah, so what it comes down to
necromancy is evil magic.
That's kind of the thing about it.
No, it's not.
No, wait. I'm trying to explain their logic. I try to explain their logic. It is kind of something like that. It is necromancy was generally like the dark magics where we'd like if you were in Ravenloft, for example, get boosted, but healing magic would get affected. And this is, I don't know, more words than they wanted to write in the addition of words and nitpicky rules. I have no fucking idea why they did this either. But it's like, oh, we're trying to simplify the game. Bullshit. You did not try to simplify this game. You did the opposite.
If I remember, it was specifically because necromancy was an evil magic and was frowned upon by, like, paladins don't use necromancy. Good clerics don't use necromancy. They still need to heal, so we move it to conjuration.
They sure as hell do. They cast Cure Light Wounds, the necromancy spell.
It should be noted.
Banned from it.
Yeah. It should be noted in 5th edition, it's still not necromancy, but it's also not conjuration anymore. It is... What the hell is it?
Mutation, maybe?
Abjuration. It's actually abjuration.
Abjuration.
Also, I can't spell.
Sure.
Looking in CO, I'm like, why can't I find cure? Oh, wait.
Oh, yes, Gore. Gore Light Wound. It should still be necromancy. It doesn't really make sense for abjuration. Abjuration's protection spells.
It did. Wait, we have description here. Protective
You're
spells,
protecting
physical magical barriers.
Why?
You're protecting them from death by refilling their health.
You're bashing the runes to another plane of existence.
It works very slightly if you consider hit points to be not straight meat points and more like bits of aspect of your character's luck and that kind. In which case, I guess you could just be throwing more actual physical, magical barriers on. It should still be a goddamn.
Yeah, necromancy just makes more sense. I agree with you on that
yes.
one. It's just a very weird change. All right, divination. The school kind of sucks in this edition.
Hey, Tim is very upset with you.
Tim the Diviner. A much beloved NPC in one of our campaigns. That aside, though.
Remember when we briefly talked about how wizards can specialize in a domain, and that also requires giving up other domains?
Mm-hmm.
He was a diviner who gave up conjuration and evocation, 2 biggest schools.
Yeah. Yes, because there was a variant for extra specialization, because normally you only specialize in one and give up another.
Yeah. He was dedicated.
Yes.
But you're not wrong. Divination's not that good.
Yeah. Main thing you get, the main things that were notable is like see invisibility, true seeing, little things like that.
Identify it. It has some useful spells, but it's not the greatest spells.
It also has scrying magic.
It does.
Which is a thing that exists, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best I can say about it, because it's like, what information are you going to get from scrying magic? Exactly what the DM wants to hand you.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't have that...
magic is best use for the DM giving himself an excuse of why he knows what your plan is.
Yes. Like, from a player character's perspective, I can have scrying magic and use it to help advance the plot, or I can not, and the DM can advance the plot anyways.
So
it just becomes... Because he's not going to let me just solve the campaign with a scrying spell, because he's not stupid.
Correct. Yeah, it's a weird thing where it's like, your DM kind of just has to be like, no, scrying can't just be the answer to all your problems.
Yeah. So it's like, it feels like it should do something, but at the same time, the realism that we're playing a tabletop game just makes it not as effective as it should be.
Yeah. there are a handful of spells that typically end up being. This is something that would be really powerful if you actually let your. This is something that would probably be too powerful if you actually let your player characters use it for a just breaking the campaign over its knee. There's plenty of spells that'll just end combat if you let your players use it. But it's hard to block all those because there's so.
That they're so
And
varied.
your wizard wants to do something.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of spells where it's like, I can't just have you cast Scrying and break the plot.
Yeah. It's like breaking a combat is you may
There'll
have
be more combat.
Yeah, build in more combat and or okay, whatever. We're short on combat in this campaign. I could care less. Scrying and the campaign's over is well, that was fun, I guess.
Yeah. It's just like something the DM has to be at a certain point. Okay, the spell exists, but just don't.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to find anything important because any actual important person would use spells listed there, like non-detection or mind blank, because they're not dumbass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which ultimately just de-incentivizes players from ever caring about them.
Yeah.
All right, enchantment. The school of
Enchantment.
Yep. The school where a lot of things that
I am Lelouch. I command you to. The power of the Gaius.
Yep. This is great for CC and stuff until you run the stuff that's immune to it, but like it pretty much does what it says on the tin. It does all the mind control-y shit.
Yeah. A dominate monster dominates a monster, and so on and so forth.
Oh,
yep.
There are a decent chunk of enchantment spells. They're all pretty good.
They're all pretty good.
A lot of them do have. They do have a split between a handful of them between like person and monster.
Yeah.
Or like humanoid and monster.
Yeah.
And there are certain things you'll run into that are just straight up immune because you
there,
have to have a mind to be compelled to do things.
Yeah, there is a lot of straight up immunity to enchantment, which is the actual like one of the two bigger issues with specializing in the school.
Yeah, like all mindless undead are immune to enchantment. If you're an enchanter and you have to fight a bunch of undead who aren't like vampires, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah. Let's see. Evocation! Blasty Skull. Like this is the most what it says on the tin of the schools.
Do you just want to do you want to be the least offensive spellcaster?
Yeah. If you want to be a spellcaster, that's probably not going to
your DM will never complain about because all you do is run up, throw a fireball, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you will be distinctly okayish, and that's about it. It is the most subpar thing you could do, but blasty.
You'll still do more damage than melee.
Yeah, almost certainly. Like a fireball that hits like 3 things will do more damage than several rounds of melee.
Yep.
Unless the melee is several years into this edition and incredibly optimized.
And even then,
yeah, and even then,
unless you're dealing with like Book of Nine Swords, who can definitely do stuff.
Yeah.
Non-Book of Nine Swords melee is never compete with its damage caster. You having to move every time to get into attack range of someone to throw one attack is never going to compare to the wizard sitting there throwing cast harm and do flat 150.
Well, harm is a clerk thing, but yeah.
Cast disintegrate and do a save or die.
Yeah.
And that even if you pass, you take 15d.
We'll get to disintegrate later because I actually have it on the list, but
yeah. Or disintegrate might just be 15, like a pile of d6 about it. But
it's a pile of d6 on a failure. I think it's like 5d6 on a pass.
Yeah, a lightning bolt or a fireball that does 10d6 to a pile of enemies as opposed to your one attack for a d10 plus 20 to 1.
Yeah. Let's see. Illusion. Oh god, there's a lot.
And the only important one is Shadow.
Yeah. Okay. Illusion.
Oh, and invisibility. Invisibility's in here too.
Yes, invisibility's in here too. But yeah. There's not really. Yeah, this is deceive senses or minds of others. This, unlike enchantment, pretty much works on everything. But with the asterisk of what it does is a good question.
Pretty much works on anything except for weird because it all is all still mostly visual, like
It depends.
based?
Okay, so it depends on the sub school. Like patterns are mind affecting, so anything that doesn't have a mind is not going to work. Same with phantasms. Generally, figments I believe are not mind affecting. So if it has sensors of any sort, depending on what type of spell it is and what senses it affects, it will still affect the mindless stuff like undead. So if you illusion up a wall, they're still going to think there's a wall there unless they interact and save with it. But yeah, there's various sub schools. Shadow is one of the funnier sub schools, partially because of a prestige class. So basically, shadow spells tend to emulate other spells. By the way, I think the sub school only applies to one illusion spell, but or maybe two.
What, shadow spells?
Yeah.
There's a pile of them to go on, but I think in base book there's like 2 or 3.
Yeah. But in any case, shadow spells are partially real and partially not, depending on your save. There is a prestige class later that specializes in shadow schools and increases how real the shadow spell is as a percentage. Because I think they start at like 50% real.
It depends on the spell. So as the spells go up in higher levels, the way that the typical shadow illusions work, at least the damaging ones that are going to be damage dealt from the matter for the percentage real, is like you'll cast Shadow Evocation, which will let you copy basically any evocation spell of X level or lower. I think, and there's also like Shadow Conjuration, works for conjuration spells.
Yeah.
And then these will do. Basically, they function like that spell, but your opponent has to make a will save first to determine if they know the spell is real or not. If they don't know the spell is real, it does damage like the regular spell, then make a reflex save against it. Take half damage, they pass. If they pass the will save, they know the spell is made of shadow and not the real spell, but they still take a percentage of the damage the spell would do, and then you still have save for half and all that kind of stuff. So basically, it gives you some flexibility for what evocation or conjuration spells you're using, at the expense of an extra save where your opponent can see through part of the damage. And then, so there's a prestige class that eventually increases this percentage to the point where you can actually have shadow spells that are more than 100% real when people pass or fail their saves. So they just do more damage. I think, specifically speaking, they do more damage against people who I believe failed their saves than pass.
Or pass their saves than fail. Yeah.
Yeah, pass or saves. If they pass your save, you realize the spell is realer than a real spell and take extra damage. Where if you just failed the save, you only take regular 100 because you don't.
But yeah, illusion is a very unique school in the sense that a lot of the spells, especially the figment ones, mainly the figment ones, are kind of limited by the imagination of the player and what the DM and how willing the DM is to work with the player in what illusions they create and how effective they are to some extent. It is very much in the camp of takes a decent amount of creativity for this to really work. Which is not a bad thing per se, but does make it very wildly from DM to DM exactly how much mileage you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Necromancy and transmutation, mainly because there were small blurbs. I decided not
no
to
special spells. Necromancy, the school of healing spells, as well as all the death and life spells.
Except no, there isn't. Yeah, in this edition, basically undead is considered to be, or undead is very much on the evil side of the universe.
Until we made all those good undead.
Yeah, until we made all those good undead, don't worry about it.
Undead.
Especially don't worry about it, those are Eberron. But yeah, in general, the idea is necromancy is mostly deals with like raising undead or magic that is considered particularly mean, like I'm going to squeeze your heart as opposed to light you on fire, which is perfectly fucking fine, or disintegrate, which is perfectly fucking fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, sure. It's fine to disintegrate people. I just want to crush a dude's heart in his chest and make an unmessy death. And I'm the bad guy. Him's still dead either way.
And transmutation, the You would expect this to
really
have
biggest
more
one.
rules. It's just like transmutation, which has polymorph and shape change, and oh god, there are a lot of rules that involve polymorph and shape change, right? And rightly so, because it's not much.
Anything that involves changing the properties of a thing that already exists is a transmutation.
Yeah. Increasing its size, changing it into a sheep, whatever you want to do.
It is one of the big three, along with evocation.
I was legitimately surprised that transmutation's rules are just not fucking here. That's the entirety of the blurb for transmutation, in spite of the fact that
why would you want rules about the most complicated spells?
I don't know.
They even mention shape change, the most complicated of the complicated spell. One that lets you change it constantly.
Yes, it's polymorph, except you can constantly change it, so it's even more fucking annoying.
It's polymorph, so you can constantly change it. It's a 9th level spell, so it lets you turn into all sorts of shit.
9th level spells are generally dumb anyways, but that's a different matter entirely. Alright, let's see. So spell components for a very brief breakdown, because these will come up a lot. Verbal, you gotta talk. Simple enough, if you're in a silence, you can't do a verbal component. Somatic spells, you gotta move. You need a free hand, except when you don't think about it too much.
The other important thing about somatic spells is, briefly earlier when we passed on the first episode, armor has spell check penalties, or spell check spell chance failures.
They have spell failure chances.
Which is basically when you cast a spell, you saw percentages on the armors. You need to roll a die. If you roll that percentage, or if you basically roll that percentage, your spell just fails. That only applies to spells that have...
That only applies to arcane.
Or arcane spells that have
somatic components.
So if you cast a still spell, you don't care about it if your spell just doesn't have somatic components, although like 95% of spells that exist have.
Yeah.
So there are ways of getting around.
Yeah.
As typically the reason why casters, because if you have a 20% chance for your spell just fizzle, lose the slot, you're not going to.
Yeah, you're not going to do that. Notable exceptions, bards do ignore arcane failure rate for light armor.
Or light armor.
And if you can...
later on, there's classes that are fine to cast. Talk about. We'll get to them.
And there are ways of manipulating magic item armor to the point where it has no spell failure chance.
Yeah.
So
Mithril also reduces it.
Yeah, Mithril reduces it.
But there's none of the base. There's none of the base metal armors except for like light shield that you can use Mithril to get rid of the.
M is material component. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that don't actually have a cost. In which case, one of the few things that was not. Yeah, you don't have to carry. You have to have a spell component pouch. Something we did get wrong in the first episode is we thought that sorcerers in this edition have skew materials. No, they don't. They still need spell. Yeah, that's Pathfinder as well. Yeah. No. That's more class features that they had.
It's a feat.
It is a feat.
Yeah, but it's not a feat you're really going to take because you just have.
Yeah, a spell component pouch.
You have a spell component pouch. It's like a gold.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was a good feat.
And unlike monks, wizards and sorcerers get like semi-normal levels of money just to be extra confusing.
Focus is basically
it's the same as material component.
Expensive material component that isn't lost.
Yeah.
For the most.
Sometimes there's negligible components. They're also in your spell component balance. Don't worry about it. Divine focus. Right. This is literally... You saw those holy symbols that were attached to all the gods? That's a divine focus.
Yeah.
Usually it's
if you want to cast spells as a cleric or paladin, you need a divine focus.
Yeah, because a good deal of your spells will have divine focuses on them.
Actually, if you want to cast divine spells in general.
Yeah.
As I said, they're like rangers and druids use like a sprig of holly. The Devil's Fuge.
Devil's Fuge. And finally, EXP costs. This is the last edition to have XP costs, and Pathfinder outright did away with them.
Yep.
This is good and bad in the sense that it made like a lot of spells a lot more usable, because instead, basically, they replaced all the XP costs with money for the most part, which did make them more castable, but at the same time, Yeah, sometimes you don't actually want your players casting these.
I mean, most the ones that are most common for players to actually cast be the resurrection spells. So just turning those to like 5k diamond.
Yeah,
Or 25k diamond
still,
as opposed to I have to burn a bunch of XP to bring someone back who's already going to lose a level when they get back in.
I think they don't cost EXP in this edition either. I think they are still. I think they are just money. Period. Let me. Yeah, they are just expensive material components.
Okay, but like the ones I mentioned here, let your players cast Wish. It's only going to come back on them.
Okay, so that's the weird thing when I looked up Wish. It's like Wish always has a giant EXP cost, even when you're doing the safe thing, which is emulating another spell.
Correct. That's it. Just let your players cast Wish. Don't punish them for it.
Yeah, especially
punish them in the appropriate
punish them
way.
for their hubris, not for the very act of casting Wish.
Yeah.
You want to cast Wish to cast any 8th level spell? Sure, go ahead. Who cares?
Yeah.
You want to cast Wish to break the rules? Well, be careful.
You want to cast Wish 5 times in a row in order to increase a stat.
That's a standard use.
That is standard use. Yeah, you're fine. You've probably lost a level or 2 or something, but you're golden.
And you got a +5 to a stat, so who cares? You can kill some more goblins. You can kill slimes for another 100 years, get max out your level.
You can get that level back by casting 1 spell on a city.
So much XP. People are like 100 XP a pop.
Please do not cast that spell on a city.
All right, casting time.
Source books make that spell possible.
Yep.
Casting time.
Yep. So, most spells have a casting time of a standard action, but sometimes they don't. If it has a casting time of a minute or longer, it means don't use this in combat, stupid. If it has a casting time of free action, it has a casting time of free action. If it has a casting time of a full round, that's actually different than any other full round action in the game. The spell will actually, as we've alluded to earlier, the spell will only be cast at the beginning of your next turn.
Yep. You cast it for the entirety of your round and all enemy turns until it gets back around.
Yeah. The most notable full round spells are the summon spells.
Yep.
It should be noted the summon monster acts immediately once it's summoned, so...
Yes, you spend a full round, then immediately before your turn, you summon a large cat, 2 pounds, and throw 5 attacks at someone. You're a fighter cries, and then you do it again.
Yes, and spell resistance, which is apparently in this section. This is not important at all at low levels because nothing has it, but at higher levels, this is basically the duct tape the game attempts to use to keep spellcasters from completely screwing with everything in the monster manual.
Yeah, you'll note that spell resistance doesn't have a stat attached to it.
Yeah,
it's going to be your target will have a number.
Yeah, so I'll have like spell resistance at 15 or so,
and you'll just roll your straight caster level plus a d20.
Yeah.
So you can a couple ways you can increase caster level a bit, but you never get too much higher than your actual level.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than things that increase caster level, there's the 2 feats that add +2 and +2 again, basically. These start to become mandatory, quite frankly, when you get to higher levels. Or, alternatively, spells don't always let spell resistance apply. Some of them will let spell resistance apply, some don't. The general idea is anything that interacts directly with the creature, spell resistance will apply. Anything that, like, summons an object and throws it at their face does not.
Correct. If you drop a rock on something, spell resistance doesn't apply. If you throw a fireball at it, it does.
Because you're not...
But if you conjure an orb of fire and throw it at it, that's different. It does not.
If you think this line is random and arbitrary...
You're right.
Yep. And I think we got over, there's basically 2 different types of spells. There's arcane spells and divine spells. And by that I mean...
arcane spells have a spell failure chance. Moving on.
Yeah, arcane spells have a spell failure chance. The only thing that distinguishes the spell from being arcane or divine is whether or not it's being cast by an arcane class or divine class. Spells will appear on both lists, and that's the only way to distinguish whether it's an arcane or divine spell.
And if you have some sort of strange way to get spells that wouldn't normally on your list, like the cure spells on an arcane caster, still arcane spells if you got.
Yep. Of all the positives and mostly negatives that come with that,
spell failure.
Really basically. Yeah. Let's see, special abilities, because this was thrown in here for reasons.
Well, because spell-like abilities are here, which is one of the most common ones. They're spells, but they don't
yes,
follow half the rules.
Yeah. It's weird because we're in the player's handbook, and none of this is like on any of the classes.
Correct. This makes sense to have this in the monster manual, but too bad it's here.
Yep. In any case, go over it briefly just because it was here. Spell-like abilities, they don't have any components. You don't have to worry about armor check failure. Basically, creatures will have like
cost and speed cost.
Yeah, creatures will basically have like it could do this or it could cast this spell once a day as a spell-like ability. And it's just like okay, it just does the effect. Don't worry about anything else on it. It will still provoke attacks of opportunity when casting. Let's see. Supernatural abilities do not. They pretty much say what they do on the tin. They're not necessarily casting a spell all the time, but they are just straight up abilities. They are, however, still magic, which means if you have something that's suppressing magic, it will not work. Extraordinary abilities are you punch a dude in the face, or something more creative than that. Or a troll regenerating, apparently. But stuff that's not actually magic, pretty much nothing stops that stuff. And natural abilities. Some things birds can fly. Moving on. Alright, the actual spells themselves. There's a lot of spells.
Yep.
Yeah. So casters have spell lists. Spell list looks something like this. Like here's an example of all the bard spells on a list. Yeah. This pretty much works exactly as you think. As they go up in levels, they get to memorize, or they get to learn they get to learn higher spells and or just straight up memorize higher spells in the case of clerics and druids.
Spells more powerful as you go up in levels.
Yep. There are level 0 spells. In this edition, you only get a certain amount of casts of levels, or you only get a certain amount of prepared or casts of level 0 spells for reasons. Let's see. And unique to clerks is domains, which we didn't go over in the clerk section because they didn't, and they were way the fuck over here, and I didn't feel like bringing them forward. But domains work. They add to your spell list. You get one free domain spell per level memorized as well.
Yep.
So you basically get an extra spell slot, but it has to be one of your 2 domains. And they all have a granted power.
Things like I just see their animal domain, which adds knowledge to your class skills and cast speak of the animal once per day as spell-like ability. To chaos domain, which is +1 to cast level 2 chaos spells. That doesn't mean spells that are in the chaos domain spells. That means spells that have the chaos alignment.
Yeah.
Because spells do have alignments to them.
I believe everything except for
everything
Shatter,
I think also has. Shatter one.
Shatter and
Magic
I think
Circle.
Animate Objects. Well, that's Magic Circle as well. But yeah, Shatter and Animate Objects I don't think does. I think everything else on that list.
Most everything else does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you cannot cast spells of an opposite alignment.
Well, you can't cast
an evil creature.
You can't cast divine spells.
You're an evil character, you can't cast like Magic Circle against evil, which is a good spell if you are.
Yeah, that only applies to divine spells. Wizards don't give a fuck.
Yeah, wizards. They have no sense of right or wrong.
It should also be noted that sorcerers and wizards actually shared the list in this edition.
Yes, they had the exact spell list in 3.5 and Pathfinder. It's just the way they learn spells. Hey, standards.
Yep. There are some example spells. Acid Splash is pretty typical for a Conjuration attack spell, and by that I mean it's fucking useless.
Well, I mean it's a level 0 spell.
Yeah.
It's a cantrip.
Yeah. Magic Missile, pretty typical blast spell. And by that I mean...
You'll notice that spells will also scale as you... Spells will scale in addition to the actual spell levels themselves, but also your caster level.
Yeah. It is actually backwards from 5th edition in the sense that the spells will scale in power with your character level, well, your class level, which is caster level, which is your class level, which is almost certainly your character level as well, because caster
when you get prestige classes, you could, for some reason, go into a prestige class that doesn't have full caster progression.
You could.
You won't, but
Yeah.
you could.
But the DCs are actually fixed to the spell level. So
Yes,
the DC is...
DCs are always going to be 10 plus spell level plus casting stat.
Yeah. Even if you're using a higher level spell slot, unless you have heightened spell meta magic, because that's or heightened spell in
Yes,
heightened spell meta magic,
exactly
because
what
that's what it does. Yeah, that will
lets you heighten spells to increase DC.
Yeah.
Mostly academic. No one's really using heightened spells.
No, occasionally, but very rare. And of course, Fireball. Fireball is very typical for a blast spell in the sense that it will do a number of dice per caster level with some max out. Fireball maxes at 10d6. So when you cast at level 5, you're doing 5d6. When you cast at level 10, you're doing 10d6. Blasting is basically a subpar option for mages. Magic Missile,
stuff that just ends fights.
Yeah, Magic Missile tends to be one of the more notable exceptions, as it can just finish something off, and there's no save.
It always
does
hits
straight damage. Yeah.
Well, let's have the shield spell.
Unless they have the shield spell. But shield spell is an actual cast spell, not a free cast like Pippa, or not a quick cast or reaction cast.
Yeah, what is a shield spell? There isn't reactions yet.
Shield spell is just a spell that lasts a period of time, gives you a +4 AC.
Yep.
Makes you mean Magic Missile. A standard defensive spell that you would use over Mage Armor, because Mage Armor takes up the armor slot.
Yeah, and after a while. Yeah, it is +4 shield bonus to AC.
Standard action. At a certain point, you're just going to put like +5 on Pseudo Close.
If I recall, there's also an amulet that will grant you the shielding effect for Magic Missile.
Or brace of armor.
You usually have brace of armor, yeah. Which is kind of the same idea.
Or you just get a chest piece of Drow Silk. It's a dex buffer.
Yeah. Let's see. Continue with the blast. Yeah, I knew Disintegrate was on this list. So yeah, Disintegrate is it's actually one of the only
2d6 per level.
Yeah, it's the only thing that breaks it is 2d6 per level with a max of 40 d6. Max of literally level 20.
Yep.
Yeah. Disintegrate is amusing as hell, but it's also kind of a it tends to be more of a subpar option in a category of subpar options because it is a single target spell. Now, granted, the thing is dead.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it does a pile of damage.
Yeah.
It can also destroy objects. Like, you can just destroy spaces of object.
Yeah. Can destroy objects.
It is also one of the few things that can destroy walls of force.
Yes. So if you so if your DM loves throwing walls of force up.
The important thing why you actually don't really see Disintegrate be used by Blasty Wizards is the fact that it has a Fortitude save. And at the point you'd be using this, everything just has a pile of cost.
Yeah. Even if you're casting this at a spellcaster, it will generally have a good Fortitude save.
Yeah.
I think the most notable exception is Undead.
That's because they don't have con.
Yeah. They don't have con.
So they never have anything benefiting to their con.
Yeah. Let's see. Scorching Ray is another one of the punches above its weight class, basically. It's a second level spell, but A, it has a weird scaling. B, it uses touch attack, and as we've gone over, not much adds to touch AC, so after a while your ranged touch is just going to fucking hit.
Don't roll ones, basically.
Yeah, don't roll ones. And it does, let's see, it starts at 46. Then for every 4 levels beyond 3rd, you gain another ray up to 3 of them.
Yep.
So
second level spell that does 12d6 damage.
Yep. And does not have the problem of the DC of having a saving throw attached to it, which everything is going to pass at a higher level because it's a second level spell, so the DC is actually not that high.
Yep.
Cone of Cold.
It's a staple.
Yeah, it is a staple. Cone of Cold, basically the upgrade, basically the sort of upgrade to Fireball after a while. It is
the mid upgrade to Fireball before you get to Delayed Blast Fireball.
Yeah. Did not actually put here because I forgot about it. But yeah. Granted, Delayed Blast Fireball is you can put a timer on it, and its cap is 20d6, I think.
I think its cap is 20, but you often don't put a timer on it, but you can.
Yeah.
It's just better Fireball at a higher level.
Yeah, cap is 20d6.
Fireball.
Yeah. And oh god, why did I not put Meteor Storm on this list?
Yeah, you did Blasty Wind Mage, but you didn't put Meteor Storm.
The
Blasty spell.
Yeah, and yeah, the very capstone of here I've pulled it up. The very capstone of Blasty Mages is Meteor Storm.
You throw 4 meteors at a dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so is both a touch attack that does several touch attacks that do 2d6 per hit, and then anything that's in any of the radiuses have to make a save for, let's see, 66? Oh yeah, there's 66 on each of them. So it's 24d6.
If you hit a dude with everything and he's in the area for all of them, it's 36 or 32d6 on a 9th level spell, so level 17. Yeah. It has no level scaling, but it just heals 32d6.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to hit someone with a rock.
You can maximize it.
4 rocks.
Hey, sometimes you want to hit someone with a rock. Sometimes you want to hit some.
Well, you can't maximize it easily because it's a level 20 or level spell. But
okay, you can't maximize it naturally.
But
magic items exist, and we can totally cheat.
Magic items can totally cheat. Technically speaking, there is the epic level handbook.
There is the epic level handbook,
which will end up giving you spell slots.
Yes, but no, because no one ever plays that level. Okay.
Cut forward. Good one. Here's the cures.
Yep, here's the cures. This is here as much as anything as an example of exactly how kind of annoying this book can be, and this is the less annoying part of it when it comes to reading spells.
This is very much the one that they did a better job of in 5th edition.
Yes, because there's cure wounds, and that's it.
Yep.
But as you can see,
the formatting... There's cure wounds mass, but...
Yeah, as you can see, the formatting for the spell is we put all of the rules for cure wounds series in cure light wounds, and then everything functions like cure light wounds, but here's how it actually functions.
Correct. It's extra d8 and scaling goes 5 higher. Extra d8, scaling goes 5 higher. Extra d8, scaling.
Yeah.
With the exception of masses, masses just have a bigger scale.
Mass has a bigger scale. To the point where cure serious wounds mass is 3d8 plus 1 to a maximum of 35. I don't know how.
Because you somehow managed to angle 15 extra spell levels? Level?
I'm not I'm not even
sure. If you somehow figure out a way, I'm impressed. But...
Yeah. It's like even the 5 for cure light wounds mass is actually hard.
Yeah, I mean you could do 25, but you'd be like level 20.
Yeah.
Like 25's approachable. And even then, that's like you took everything you can, then increases caster level. 35 and 40 for serious and critical is just silly.
And to go over the other healing spell that I didn't put on the fucking list because it's like one of the most important spells in the game at a certain point. Okay, so here's heal. Which pretty much obsoletes everything you just saw there.
It's 150.
Well, okay, max is 150. You technically
get
this before
10 per level.
Yeah.
250.
That's not the only thing it does, however. It also cures, let's see, blinded, confused, dazed, evasive damage, dazzled, deafened, diseased, exhausted, fatigued, feeble-minded, insanity, nausea, sickened, stunned, poison, nausea.
Heartburn, nausea, indigestion, upset stomach.
It's also worth noting that there are inverses of all these cure spells, which we briefly talked about when we were in the cleric section, because clerics can spontaneously cast heals, or inflicts. Inflicts are basically take the heal spell, but make them do damage instead.
Yes, which is not really worth it mostly, but...
With the exception of harm.
With the exception of harm, because harm is the inverse of heal. Okay, it's not quite...
It doesn't remove all the status effects or add status effects that heal does, but it does just do a flat 10 per level to a cap of 50.
And it's also a save for half, which means it will only do 75 on a fail. Oh god, you're still dead.
So if you want to be a cleric who just touches people and they die, you can do that.
But do remember, it is necromancy and therefore naughty.
That's fine. I'll be a naughty cleric.
Also of note, it is touch range spell.
Yes, you do have to touch. But you're a cleric, you can wear armor and stuff. You can be a better fighter if you want to be a better fighter.
I didn't realize there's no harm mass. That's probably for the best.
There's no harm
there's
mass
absolutely
for
heal
breathing.
mass, but yeah. Like, it's perfectly understandable there's no harm mass. That would even put Meteor Swarm to shame on damage, but...
Yeah.
Okay, the summoning spell is one of the most broken things you can do with spellcasting. That's
the
not
base
even
table.
close. Yeah, these are the base tables, and these are incredibly terrible. To save you time, basically, over the Summer Nature's Ally area, look for anything that's a cat. That's what you want to usually summon if you're looking for damage. If you're looking to screw up a spellcaster, summon a snake right next to them.
Yeah, constrictor snakes are great.
Yeah.
Immediately grapple them.
Yeah, because as we've gone over, grappling is like one of the exceedingly few weaknesses that spellcasters actually have. Other things of note: you can only summon you can only summon water creatures in aquatic or watery environments.
And summon a whale onto people. Much fun as it would be.
They did think about that. And then there's a much more broken summon monster table.
So low-level summon monsters not that broken, because it's mostly just fiendish templated or celestial templated generic things.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into like 4th level, really, where you start seeing things like, oh, here's a Lantern Archon on, and it'll just kind of go from there. Oh, here's a Hound Archon on 5. Once you start getting things that aren't just templated, those usually also have a pile of various spell-like abilities and other features on them.
Yep.
So you can go, okay, I need something to deal with X. Let me check my spell list, or let me check my pile of summons. And again, as we mentioned, this is only the base book summons. As various source books added more monsters, they will also add more monsters to the summon monster list.
This is
These
what we
lists get horrifically bloated.
Yes. This is what we also like to call a bad idea, because this was already fucking broken, even. And then we're adding more shit.
Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff where it's like, oh, I'm summoning this thing to fight. No, not to fight, to cast a spell that I didn't have prepared otherwise.
More so than normal, summoning monster stuff realistically for veteran players tends to be okay, don't fucking go crazy, and please do not make this the only thing you do for combat, because the combat will take forever. We'll get to your turn, then you'll take 4 turns, and the action economics completely breaks over your knee.
Yep. It's also worth noting that when you can cast summon spells at lower levels. You can basically use the list lower than the one you're using, with getting extra creatures. So there's some times where it's like, I could cast this level 3 Summon Nature's Ally to get, say, a Dire Wolf, but instead I want to get D3 Badgers.
Your Badgers.
Or a D4 plus 1
Or
dire
D4
rats.
plus 1, 2 steps down.
Yeah. D4 plus 1 dire rats in order to set off all the traps in this hallway.
It's better for me to cast this 5th level Summon Nature's Ally, but then pull D4 plus 1 things from the 3rd level tree, D4 plus 1 lion, than a single level 5 thing just so I can clutter the board.
Yeah.
Also, D4 plus 1 lions, if you roll a 4 and get 5 of them, does throw like 25 it shows up.
Yeah.
Your DM cries.
And it's breaking the game isn't limited to in combat either, as I kind of alluded to right there with the, hey, I could just use a 3rd level spell to summon a bunch of dire rats. Okay.
Then have them run in traps.
Yeah. Because these things do exactly what you want them to do.
Yep.
Let's see. Dispel Magic, which I just cut this page rather than trying to even figure out how to cut that out.
That's fair.
Yeah, this is one of the more notable and complex spells of this edition. I was actually looking for counter magic and then realized, oh yeah, no, it was one of the subcategories of Dispel Magic.
Yep.
But yeah, this is the major spell when it comes to the counterplay of magic with itself, basically.
Well, Dispel Magic is part of the countering magic thing.
Yeah, well, okay. So you can always counter spells by casting the exact same spell back at the spell as a prepared action. Dispel magic is a way of actually countering spells without being lucky enough to have the same spell as the person who was casting a spell.
Now there's also a feat that I believe lets you use ones at the same level.
Not the same level of the same,
school.
It's not in the base book, but yeah, I believe there was a feat for that, which is a thing, I guess. But yeah, other things it does includes, but is not limited to, area dispels and targeted dispels, which is basically targeted dispels tries to get rid of like all of the ongoing spells on something that has buffed itself to glowing in the dark.
Yep.
And area dispels tries to dispel a thing. I do not believe these ones mess with magic items, or this one messes with magic items. Do some speed reading here. I think you could target a magic item and it will screw with it. Yeah, you target a magic item, it will specifically screw with it. It will suppress the magic item for a while. It's not disjunction.
But not area dispel. Area dispel ignores.
Yeah. Speaking of things I did not put on this list, oh, it's somebody's disjunction, isn't it?
Mordenkainen's disjunction.
Mordenkainen's disjunction, of course.
It's Greyhawk. It's Mordenkaine's spell.
Yeah.
Dispel magic on Grak. Also level 9.
Also level 9, but is actually kind of hilarious in certain ways. Let's see. All magical effects, magic items.
Are you level 9? Your characters don't need loot anymore?
Yep. Yeah, so everything in this radius that fails to save is not magic anymore.
You unmake the magic.
You also have a 1% chance per caster level of destroying an anti-magic field, or
an artifact.
Or an artifact with horribly dire side effects. So we'll go over
usually something attached to that artifact is unpleased that you broke it.
Yeah, so we'll go over artifacts
without doing some
in more
random
detail.
bullshit like hitting on an ant.
Yeah, so we'll go over artifacts more when we get into the DM's guide. But as a short of it, artifacts are almost always purposely made by deities, like the Hand and Eye of Vecna, which are both the literal Hand and Eye of Vecna, are artifacts made by Vecna. And Vecna does not appreciate you disjunctioning his hand or eye.
Correct. Yes, the dwarf god is upset when you break the hand or the axe of the dwarven kings.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yes. And here's a generic list I put together to basically start obsoleting classes for various skills. Hey, you want to sneak around? Here's invisibility. Go nuts. Less a minute per level. They can still hear you, unless you put a silence on yourself. But you can do that. Want to be very sneaky in combat? You cast Invisibility Greater. No, you can actually cast this on someone else as well, which the rogue will love you. Invisibility Mass if you want the entire party to sneak around. Knock if you want to make the rogue just fucking cry. Seriously, who fucking came up with this spell?
What, I need a spell that just opens locks.
That's it, by the way. There's no check.
It just opens the lock.
Yep.
If it's a magical lock, okay, it still opens.
Yep.
Fuck.
Second level spell.
Yeah, second level spell.
Should do this level 3. Get fucked, folks.
Here's a second level spell, obsoletes the entire class feature. Mage Hand, one of the better cantrips.
Yep.
Mainly because, okay, a cantrip that does a D3 damage is not fucking worth a damn.
No, but it's let you manipulate object.
That's, right. Again, another way of actually screwing with traps.
Yep.
Depending on what the trap is. It has the occasional amusing use as well. And, of course, fly, because screw those climb checks. I'm just gonna fly.
Not only screw those climb checks, screw that. Hey, remember how you kept talking about if like a fighter gets close to you, you can just take a 5-foot step back? Why let him get close?
Yeah. Alternatively, I'm just flying, he can't even get to me.
You didn't want to play an archer? The best thing you can do with a fighter, realistically? Oh, sucks to be you.
Yep. Yeah, because we don't want to screw. Because we haven't screwed with melee enough. Let's just make it so any sorcerer wizard who gets to 5th level can just fly
and just say, "No, you can't touch me."
Yeah. So the most broken book in 3.5 is this book. Entirely because of the spell section.
Yeah, the casters get more broken as they get more spells, but they were broken up.
You actually make casters more balanced by banning this book and letting them use all the other supplements. Let's see.
Pretty sure you would make them unplayable.
No.
No, not at all.
There are a lot of spells in the spell compendium. None of them are from the base book. Let's see. Detect spells, but the most notable one I want to point out here was Detect Magic. Again, this wasn't worth cutting out because it's entirely on this one. So, yep. You remember how rogues can detect magical traps with a very high DC check? Here's a cantrip that does the same thing. It lasts for concentration of a minute per level. This is the best thing your wizard could be doing out of combat where you're dungeon delving if your DM is going to have traps at all.
Yep.
There's no check. No, there's
just have it up all the time.
Yeah. Whenever they get close enough to a trap, it will ping. And then they just wait a few rounds and they can figure out exactly where it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Obsoleted entire class feature of a cantrip.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, and here's some examples of the Dominate and Command spells. Basically, only works on mind-affecting stuff, but if CC spells were... CC spells are generally, like, okay options when they're affecting one thing. They're not an amazing thing that a spellcaster can do. AoE Blast tends to even outpace it, generally. It is especially funny, however, when they affect the big bad guy.
The big bad, you can dominate a big bad, yeah.
Yeah. Either the DM has a backup plan for this or just going to fake the save, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Another big bad.
But, the Dominate and Command spells especially, however... Well, okay, the Dominate spell is kind of a weird exception in the sense that, yeah, I take your actions and they become my actions now.
Yep.
Note the duration is a day per level.
As long as you don't make them do something that is completely, like, once they fail it, as long as you don't make them do something that is absolutely, completely against something they would do, they don't get a save again.
Yeah. And the other notable exception is, Command is a much weaker effect in general because they just do a thing. Command Greater, on the other hand, is goddamn hilarious.
Yeah, a big round or big area of people. Like one person per level within 30 feet of each other. You give commands each time. You can do this You can do this basically once a round per level round.
Yeah, you tell them to drop a lot.
Drop your weapon. Halt. Get down.
Yep.
Come over here. Go away. Fall down. Drop your weapon again.
Put your left foot in. Put your right foot in.
Yeah, they do get to make another save each round, but it certainly is funny.
Yeah. Oh yes, combat buffs. Yeah, Clerk tends to have a decent line of combat buffs to also make the fighter cry, because that's basically what this edition is about.
Yeah, that's a luck bonus on attack and weapon damage rolls.
You get luck bonuses also from... I don't fucking know. I'd
have
have to hunt for them. Yeah. Now, notably, this is a standard action to cast, so you're eating up one of your turns of combat. Only lasts a minute, and there certainly isn't, like, I don't know, meta magic later to make it last 24 hours.
Yeah, of course not.
No, that'd be silly.
There's also not a spell called Contingency that you can cast that will just automatically cast other spells when your contingent thing is hit.
Yeah.
So you can just basically pre-cast all your buffs as contingent spells, then trigger your contingency when you want.
Yeah.
Your contingency could be something like, I draw my weapon.
And they certainly balance contingency by giving it an expensive material. No, they give it an expensive...
No, they didn't at all.
No, they didn't. No, it has a Okay, that's actually cheap for a level 11 character focus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, do you want to be a caster but have full base attack bonus and also get a bonus to your strength?
Yep.
It is an enhancement bonus at least, so it won't stack for other enhancement bonuses, and some extra hit points.
Yep. Yeah. If you want to be a cleric that instantly turns himself into a fighter effectively, and not have to worry about buying a strength item.
And then a level below that, do you want to get a size bonus which stacks with everything to your strength on, and your armor, and your weapon damage goes up because you went up in size, and some DR?
Yeah. Some DR that's somewhat hard to get around usually.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah. More so if you're a neutral clerk and decide to choose DR good.
And just DR good fight evil stuff, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, good luck overcoming that.
Yeah, those 3 spells are the core of the make cleric just a way better fighter than fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, and haste.
Yep, haste, which is notably by default multi-target, and one of the few things you can do that will actually make the melees like you. Is just plain good. It's extra attack when they do a full attack action. They move an extra 30 feet. Plus 1 bonus to attack rolls and dodge against AC, reflex saves. Yep. So party buffing is one of those things that you could all is one of the few actions you can do that is going to make no one hate you. Even the DM is going to just kind of shrug.
At a certain point, you expect most parties to have like a bard or a sorcerer or wizard in them. You just always have haste up in fights.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an incredibly commonly cast.
Let's see. Base heroism, which is actually a trap option for the bard. But if you don't have a bard, is a solid spell for sorcerer wizard. Should be noted, this is a morale bonus to attack, damage roll, attack rolls, saves, and skill checks. So is Inspire Courage.
I think Pathfinder changed it to a different bonus.
Inspire Courage, I believe, was a competence bonus or something. It was something that did. I think it was almost on its own. Yeah, it's a morale bonus in this edition. I believe they actually changed one or the other to a different bonus type, so they would actually stack.
I'm fairly certain 3.5 or not 3.5. Pathfinder changed it to a competence bonus.
Yeah, I think so.
So it didn't stack with, or so it could stack with morale bonuses again.
Yeah. Greater heroism is a little bit different, but not much. Mainly because it's just a pile of. It's a decent amount
bigger
of
bonus,
points.
some template points.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a bard, perfectly good casters. Bards are going to cast themselves if they haven't. Inspire Courage.
Hey, let's see. Okay, now the broken stuff. Yeah, because we kind of
broken stuff.
A good chunk of it. So we've gone over like all of the more sane stuff that casters can actually do. The most broken stuff they can actually do is basically multi-target save or suck or save or die random ass things. Basically hey, let's take a bunch of stuff possibly out of the fight completely. Like color spray we've gone over for first level for basically first level characters. Yeah, it is a will save, or, well, it depends on the hit dice of the creature. So when you're at a low level, everything you're fighting is going to have low hit dice, unless the DM is just trying to kill you. I don't know.
Trying to kill you, yes.
So it's going to have 2 hit dice or less. So on a failure, it is, let's see, unconscious, blinded, stun for 2d4 rounds.
Then blinded and stunned for another d4, and then stunned for 1.
Yeah. Is out of the round for 3d4, or is out of the fight for 3d4 plus 1 rounds. Realistically,
keep in mind that if you're unconscious, your opponent you just walk up to it, do a coup de grace action, which is automatic crit, and they have to make a save equal the damage you do to die.
Yeah.
Assuming the auto crit just didn't kill them anyways, because they have 2 hit dice less.
3 or 4 hit dice, this is still kind of okay. It's blind and stunned for d4 rounds.
They're still stunned for d4 rounds and probably dead.
Yeah. 5 or more, it is stunned for a round, which is it's more okay than you would actually think. The big problem is that the real problem is the DC doesn't really scale, so the DC save is going to not be.
But it is horrifically stupid at like level 1 that you just have a spell that will have a decent chance just ending fights immediately. That you can get the 15-foot cone.
Yeah, but the other notable part of it, it's a 15-foot cone. So
it's enough to I mean, you're not fighting waves and waves and waves of stuff at level 1, so it's often enough to get 2 or 3 enemies, and if you have a level 1 spell, it just removes 2 or 3 enemies to fight. Considering orcs can one-shot characters on average damage.
Yeah. If one of them
slightly
fails,
high roll fun.
Yeah, if one of them fails to save, it's easily worth it.
Worth a spell.
Yeah, it's worth a spell slot. Grease is situational comedy, and notably is kind of the opposite of Color Spray in the sense that it's actually has much more longevity at higher levels. Notably because
it's a reflex save, then bounce checks.
It's a reflex save for them to fall, or they fall. It is always difficult terrain, so they're always going to be moving half speed, and they need a balance check to even move at half speed.
Yeah.
Failure means they're just stuck
and then they have to make a reflex save and fall. Yeah.
Now, this is a DC 10 balance check, and almost certainly they have no ranks in balance. Because why would they?
Why would they?
Like, almost nothing that's actually meant to go into melee will have ranks in balance, so they're gonna fail a good half the time. Monsters can't occupy the same space, so if anything wants to move past them, they actually have to pass that balance check, or they're just going to stay behind them, and this pile up can get hilarious very quickly.
Uh-huh.
It is very good for bottlenecking. Let's see. Fear. This is a 30-foot cone, and basically anything that doesn't save is CC'd until you want to deal with it.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward on that
level.
one. Prismatic Spray. This is a 60-foot cone of something hilarious happens.
Roll a d8, consult the table. If you roll an 8, you roll 2d8. Consult the table. Ranges from flat damage, poisoned, which just kills you if you fail to save. Does con damage if you pass. Turn to stone, driven insane, or randomly sent to another plane.
Yep. Also of note, somewhat of note, is at lower levels.
If you hit creatures that have 8 hit dice or less, they get blind automatically for save.
Yep.
Keep in mind it's a 7-level spell, so you're not finding a ton of things that hit dice at that point, but it is funny when it happens.
Yep. Let's see. As for like random crap you can do to really screw with bosses, Ray of Fulfillment, Ray of Exhaustion are very good at this. Ray of Fulfillment, it's a touch, and they just take a penalty or strength equal to D6 plus 1 per 2 caster levels, maximum of 5. Straight up, that guy that done hit hard no longer hit hard.
It's hard. Level 1 spell. No save.
Yeah. It's like, at level 1, actually still kind of okay. Like, no, it's just a straight D6, isn't it? Yeah, it would just be a straight D6. Still kind of okay. Might do nothing.
Depends on your roll.
It depends on your roll. On average, it's going to basically give them -1 to attack and like 1 or 2 to damage, depending on what they're doing.
Like, even if when you're level 10, when you have the max flat, I mean, a guaranteed at least -3 to attack and damage someone attacking bad.
Yeah. And Ray of Exhaustion, which, hey, if you're in a campaign where the big bad guy is a barbarian, barbarians have to not be, so, to go over the spell itself, if they fail to save, they're exhausted. If they pass the save, they're Fatigued. A barbarian can't rage while they're fatigued.
Nope.
More specifically, these are actually, like, exhausted is a horribly powerful debuff, actually.
Yeah, half speed, -6 to strength and dex, which is just a pain.
Yeah. Fatigue is a -2 to strength and dex, which, as far as like a pass save goes, is not it's fine. Like,
yeah,
hey, they passed this. Okay, yeah. It's still giving them a penalty and easily worth the. What was this? Oh yeah, level 3 spell slot.
Yep.
But yeah, basically the idea is any low level spell that still is perfectly fine, effective at higher levels. So you're not actually wasting bigger slots that could be used for more dramatic effects to screw with like individual targets. Those are the spells that you're really actually hunting down in this edition. Especially stuff that either, if they pass the save, okay, they're still screwed, or there's no save to begin with, so who cares?
Like a web just right there, where if you pass the save, you're still in tinkle.
Yeah, web, which is actually still just going to actively screw with everyone in the AoE, even if they pass the save. Cause let's... yeah. And it covers like a 20-foot radius spread, basically making that entire area a giant pain in the ass to anyone in it. Web is probably more so than anything a spell that can basically nearly like trivialize a fight on its own.
Does your target need to actively reach you?
Yeah. If you're fighting any type of swarm encounter, they're going to be basically coming at the party one at a time. And at that point, like, dealing with things that are meant to swarm around you one at a time is basically a joke.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, yes. Other famous stuff.
The entirety of Wish.
Yes, the entirety of Wish. It was split between multiple pages, in case you're wondering. That's why it's like that. But yeah, it's more famous stuff as well in this edition. Here's polymorph spell as is described here. There are more rules for polymorph somewhere else, I'm sure. But yeah.
Turn yourself into something else. You get its physical stats. You keep your mental stats.
If the sorcerer or wizard wants to do his best impression of a druid, this is one of the better ways of doing it. Especially since they aren't really limited to animals, so they can turn into something that, I don't know, has vocal cords.
Like dragons.
And
dragons or fae or giants or other humanoids or monstrous humanoids.
Things that can cast spells.
Perfectly capable of speech.
Yep. Silent
only limited by hit dice.
Silent image. By the way, for all the illusion spells, here's the rules text plus extra stuff. This we've gone over. Let's see, and of course, Wish, one of the most famous spells for Rush period, is kind of not really all that usable in this edition for several reasons. Not the least of which is it's a 9th level spell. Realistically, campaigns tend to end.
I mean, it's always a 9th level spell. But...
yeah. It's always a 9th level spell. I mean, campaigns that end before that. That's not unique to this edition.
Costs 5,000 XP to cast.
Yeah. Is kind of balanced around that a little bit, but is ultimately not actually as powerful as you would think it would be. Mostly because, let's see, you can duplicate a sorcerer spell of 8th level or lower, provided you're not prohibited, or 7th level or if it is prohibited. Duplicate any other spell of 6th level or lower, so you can duplicate divine spells.
Pocket spells out of your ass.
Yeah.
Undo harmful effects. Make a magic item, but you do have to pay the XP value for it.
Yep. Okay, so grant a creature a +1 inherent bonus to an ability score. You cast this 5 times for up to a +5 in a row.
Yep.
There is a magic item that is literally this spell up to 5 times.
It's a book. It's a book.
It's a book. I think you take a week to read it.
You read it, you gain that bonus.
Yeah.
Remove injuries and afflictions. Revive people from the dead.
Yep.
Teleport. Better teleport.
Yep.
Undo misfortune. Revert time to an extent.
Remind. Oh yeah, by the way, there are teleportation spells. I didn't put any of them on the list because they're so self-explanatory.
They teleport through places.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that we're done going over the spell section, so let me go back over what melees can do. They can hit things, or they can shoot arrows at things, and they can make skill checks. That spells can almost certainly do better.
Pretty much.
And casters can do all this shit we just said and more.
Oh, it's cute that you invest a lot of skill points into hide and move silently. I'm going to cast invisibility and
I cast invisibility and I fly. Unless my fly spell for some reason is making whoosh noises, I think I'm pretty much good.
Well, I'm making whoosh noises on purpose. Most things another rogue can hear me. Does he have to do the airplane noises every time he flies? He doesn't have to. He does.
Oh, there's this 25-foot sheer cliff that we need to get up.
I don't even know what an airplane is.
Oh, climb it! I'll just fly. Fuck it.
Hey, do you guys want me to toss down a rope?
Hold on, I'm pretty sure I have a spell that can just manipulate rope.
Yes, you do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's taking a lot of work. I'm just going to reshape the earth itself to give us a staircase.
Oh, yes, and to go over one of the last and most important things in this book, round detractions. You always round down.
Yep.
This edition, you always round down.
You always round down, no matter what it is.
Because, screw math.
Exceptions, certain roles.
Minimum of one. That's what it boils down.
Yes, there's a minimum of one on, like, damage and hit
If
points.
if you do damage, you always do at least one damage. Gain hit.
Let's see, multiplying, multipliers are also just added together. So
Yeah,
if you do
they're
times 2 and times 2, it's a times 3 instead of a times 4, because... Okay, as much as math is a primary feature of this edition, it also fails at it. This is kind of what... I know this was installed as a guardrail, but I can't even think of fucking instances where it's doubling a double very often. Like a crit on elemental damage, I think. Yeah, a crit on elemental damage, I think, would be it. I can think of offhand. And how much of a guardrail do you need for this?
I mean, how much... This is not the guardrail you need.
No, it is not. Generally...
You put up this guardrail before you let OSHA come and inspect what the actual problem was.
Yeah. We have to make sure that straight is extra costly and melee have as much trouble as possible doing damage to things. Because fucking reasons.
I mean, at least the bulk of most things you're going to fight are going to want to get in melee for you too, so melee works, but
Melee...
God, if a thing that actually doesn't want to get in melee and is actually run intelligently doesn't want to get in melee, it rarely does. It's just a problem.
Yeah.
Like, there's no actual reason for something as smart as a dragon to ever like fighting a bunch of melee characters.
No, nothing other than like sheer arrogance, or well, that's pretty much it. If it wants to speed up killing everything, basically, like if it's on a timetable, and dragons rarely are on a timetable.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's really little reason why I can't just keep do like fly by breath.
Yeah.
Fly by, breathe, move on. Fly by, breathe, move on.
At minimum, that's not accounting for other things that dragons can do. All dragons
actually have the flyby attack feats and just do full attacks as they move by.
Yeah, have flyby attack feats, cast spells, because all dragons in this edition are spellcasters. Level. Yeah. Let's see.
The back of the book.
The back of the book. We've made it. We finished the player's handbook.
Da 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 da.
So yes, we're done with the most broken book in 3.5, the first one. And this is the revision.
Yep.
This is fixing the problems they saw with 3.0. Because I know that, and the worst part is I can kind of see how they missed everything that was actually like really glaringly broken.
Well, there's always a chance that those weren't broken to them.
There's some extent of those weren't broken to them. There's some extent of they just didn't do the broken things and didn't really notice them too much. Like, all the summon monster stuff is over there, but no one wants to run some summoner, so who the fuck knows? I guess they're fine. We threw some basic math at the wall and we thought it stuck.
Yeah.
Or they did summon monster at or they did a summon monster build at like level 2.
But yeah, like that's a level 5 character. I get the most like summon monster 3. There's nothing really crazy at that point, so it's mostly fine. But then a combination of you get more things that have more variable options, and then also as this game went on, you just added more and more and more to those tables.
There's a bit of that. There's also like the duration's actually around per level. So if you're like a level 3 caster, it's like, okay, it stays up for
Yeah,
like
3
3
rounds.
levels. It's using one of my higher level spell slots. I don't actually have that many of them as level 3 like druid. I have
Except like now I'm level 15 and I cast a level 4 summon monster because it gets me the spell I need and lasts 15 rounds.
yeah.
Or I use summon monster 6 and summon D4 plus 1 of those. And now I'm flooding the board.
Yeah. Flame the board. I'm spamming a spell that I needed to screw with things, and yeah. But yeah, if they never built that, if they only built like wizards to be casty, or if they just generally avoided all the crowd control spells, because the crowd control spells are actually the ones that tend to be more broken.
Yeah, if you just want to build a blaster, but there's no problem. I mean, you're going to outshine a fighter,
Generally, but
especially on multi-target fights. Like the fighter
Yeah.
could definitely beat you on single target. They can stack enough flat, actually be able to get enough attacks so they could beat out on single target damage, but they're never going to match your ability to throw a 30-foot radius 20d6 blast.
yeah. And then there's all the combat maneuver stuff, which just, especially in this book, makes me wonder because they have like 1 feat for everything, and they just don't do enough of anything. Because it's like, tripping is kind of okay because you at least get a bonus to hit something that's on the ground. But
Tripping's okay. You get a bunch of things on the ground. They really fleshed it out better in Pathfinder. Maneuvers in general is just Pathfinder better.
Yeah.
Giving marshals more options. Casters were still king, but marshals
did get more options. It's just that while it is better in Pathfinder, it still sucks in Pathfinder in the sense that, like, if I don't have these specific feats dedicated to some basic combat maneuvers, I don't do these combat maneuvers.
Yeah, and that is still
yeah.
But they have more support for those combat maneuvers if you actually did want to do them. It's just more because if you want to focus on doing XYZ combat maneuvers, it's better to Pathfinder 5.
But yeah, that is actually one of the bigger crimes of this book is here's all these fun and interesting things that casters can do, and the melees doesn't make attack roll.
Hey, we'll eventually get to Book 9 Swords.
Yeah.
The fun stuff for melee.
That is the fun stuff for melee. And if they go ranged, congratulations, you picked the better of the 2 options, and it's still kind of going to be mediocre, but at least you compete a little bit better. Oh yeah, and then when we do stuff out of combat, that's the other issue I have. It's like, this is just us talking about combat. When it comes to out of combat, when it comes
to out of combat, do I have the right skills for things that actually require skills, or is there a wizard to just automatically do whatever I do anyways?
Yeah, it's just
with the right spells prepared.
Yeah, it has the right spells prepared, or are we going to have to wait a day for the clerk or the clerk to have the right spell?
Yeah.
Let's see. Miscellaneous notes from the top of my head. Oh yeah, right. We did actually go over one other thing of so let's say you decided that we shouldn't have full casters in our party for whatever reason. You're going to have one major problem is the base healing in this game. If you don't actually have anyone who can cast healing spells, from what I remember, a day of rest gets you, I believe, character level HP back.
I think it's hit dice.
It might be no, that's not.
I want to say it's hit.
No, that's higher than I think it is.
Let's just buy a bunch of potions. It'll be fine.
At higher levels. The oldie convenient potion store.
Yep.
I think a bard does actually have arcane healing spells now that I think about it. Or arcane.
Bard has arcane healing spells. Rangers and paladins get the healing spells. If you had them, you'd have some.
Yeah, at like 4th level, they'll have like a cure light wounds. Technically, paladins have lay on hands.
Yeah, paladins have lay on hands. I think paladins just get the cures.
Yeah.
So you'll have the cures.
They also get the cures. It's just they don't get that many spells. They don't get them until 4th level.
Yeah. Get 4th level to actually start getting there.
And granted, for this edition, we all basically, if you're not tutorializing a new player in the year 2003, because I'm not sure why you're playing this game, or I'm not sure why you're playing 3.5 in the modern era. At the very least, play Pathfinder First Edition, and realistically, don't play Pathfinder First Edition. But
Pathfinder first edition is fine.
It's fine. I would just skip straight to 5th. If you're new, especially if you're new to RPGs,
They're-
just straight.
I mean,
straight
they're
to starting
different.
5th. They are different, but I
If,
would.
if you do want the crunchy number, the 5th ed does not do that.
No,
if
it
you
doesn't.
want the math, 5th ed doesn't do that.
The 5th ed doesn't do math. One thing that 5th ed does do is a better new player experience.
I don't know. Sometimes you go into a fight in 5th ed, you just got guys who have 17 armor that you can't hit.
That's true of this edition as well.
And then, like, also reaction increase the AC by 2.
Okay, the player characters not being able to roll like a 10 plus also does not help.
So many attacks.
As it turns out, when you have a 50% chance to hit, sometimes when you roll the small sapling size says you don't hit for like 4 rounds or something.
I mean, except you guys also have advantage on attacks.
Oh yeah, no, I should have been
5
hitting
of
more
you.
than I was. Ugh. But yeah, in any case, that finishes with this book, and that will probably finish, or that will finish for this week. The first with this stream. So
Ultra Manual or DMG?
DMG. Yeah, it's Player's Handbook, DMG, Monster Manual. They actually are numbered in order.
Yep.
And DMG is the better book to go over next, anyways.
Oh yeah,
It's a continuation of this.
2.0.
Yeah, there's other stuff in there as well, and I, in general, want to hear everyone's thoughts on like the opening chapters because you can kind of guess what those are about.
Yep.
But yeah. Hey guys, that's all we have for this week. Join us on Sunday for more Super Robot Wars 30, where we do I don't fucking know anymore, but it'll still be entertaining. At the very least, this game has kept us talking about random ass stuff, so that's a positive of other things.
We did both the story missions we had access to.
No, I think we did. Did we? Yes.
Which means next, so we don't have any more side stuff to do left. Is Guy's gonna show up finally?
Yeah, I think we're at the point where we're actually getting Galfigar.
Yeah, we'll get Galfigar and Gashishi.
Yeah. Join us on Monday for
Pokemon
stuff.
Actual Pokemon again.
Yeah,
actual Pokemon.
We are starting up a new Pokemon run since I decided to abandon the Devil Survivor run because I just wasn't having fun anymore. The amount of extra grindy work I would need to do to get us through fights that were just still losing on trash rolls, try to get XP, just wasn't fun anymore. So we're starting up what we had planned next earlier, which is going to be a Soul Link with myself and Hunter Green. As we do a Soul Link of Ultra Sun and Moon. Going to be a lot of fun.
I'm staring off into space. I'm having flashbacks to our last Soul Link.
It's okay.
It'll be a lot of fun.
We'll be less likely to constantly get pairings of water types, so we can't use them.
We'll see about that.
Knowing full well there will almost certainly be tons of pairings of water types that we can.
Oh, almost certainly. And yeah, join us back here on Thursday as we continue this adventure down into the 3.5 Dungeon Master's Guide. Which hopefully we can finish in a session, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, we can speed through some stuff we feel like we're dragging.
That's true. There's parts where we'll probably have some discussions, but there's other stuff where we'll probably just skip ahead, more or less. But yeah, in any case, we'll see what happens next week. Till then, I'm Vincent.
I've been the Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
I've been Hunter Green.
And I'm Vincent. And remember, everyone, hindsight's 20/20.